Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The date is May 20th, 2026. The time is 7:02 p.m. I am going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. We're going to go ahead and start with roll call and introductions. We're going to go ahead and start in numerical order.
Thank you, Chair Patel. This is Commissioner Gifford, SMD 2802, and currently having video difficulties. I apologize. I'm working on that right now. My single member district is the kind of northwesternmost part of 2A, bound roughly by Rock Creek Parkway, Pennsylvania Avenue and L Street, and 24th and 23rd Streets as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Shriti Patel, she, her pronouns. I am the Commissioner for Single Member District 2A03, which is the bulk of the historic Foggy Bottom, and I'm the chairperson of ANC 2A.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ed Comer. I am Commissioner of SMD 2804, which covers the Watergate, the western portion of Foggy Bottom, the Kennedy Center, and various areas along the river south of the Lincoln Memorial. Thank you.
Good evening. I am John Dolan, Commissioner for ANC 2A06, small area just north of Pennsylvania in the West End.
Hey everyone, my name is Jim Malik, Commissioner for 2A08, which covers the northeastern corner of Foggy Bottom, right where it meets West End. The district wraps around Washington Circle and includes West End Place, Winston House, the Avenue, as well as Lafayette Hall and District House on the GW campus, and the row houses between 22nd and 24th Street. I'm happy to be here. Feel free to reach out and let me know if I can be of assistance with anything.
Hi, everyone. This is Commissioner Youngstone. I'm in District 2A09. That includes 2400 and 2424 Pennsylvania Avenue, Varsity on K, St. Mary's Court, and a number of GW student housing facilities.
Thank you. All commissioners have introduced themselves. Seeing that all commissioners are present quorum has been established. Moving on to the next item is the adoption of the agenda. I am going to go ahead and move the agenda. I'm calling for a second to adopt it.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand, please.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. All right. Adoption of the agenda is by unanimous consent. Moving on to the next section matter.
Oh, just a heads up. I think Commissioner Gifford has dropped. I assume he'll be back in a sec.
I did notice that he has dropped. I believe
He's here.
trying to his video.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
He's in the attendees.
He's here and I'm promoting him.
Thank you. Moving on to the next section, which is administrative matters. First item up is the approval of ANC's April 2026 regular meeting minutes. Secretary Kohler, has there been any changes or edits to this since you have presented this to the public?
I just saw an email that said Commissioner Malik said he voted against something, and I know Edie Shellis has taken note of that. I thought it was Commissioner Youngstone, and if Commissioner Malik agrees, we will fix that. I'm not quite aware if there have been any other comments. There were some last minute emails I have not had time to read. There was a comment saying that we left out a topic about the 2600 office building coming before the zoning commission. And the reason I left that out of the minutes was my understanding was it was taken off of the agenda by Chair Patel before the meeting. If I'm wrong about that, we could add it, but we did not discuss that topic.
Secretary Comer, It's because I had asked you to move it to a special meeting.
Well, you didn't ask me to move it to a special meeting, but um, uh, uh, we did move it to a special meeting. If I remember, you voted against that.
I just wanted to let you know that it, that's, it may be blank, but that's because we voted to move it to a special meeting.
So the one that is highlighted now should be Commissioner Malik instead of Commissioner Youngstone. Is that correct? Commissioner Malik? So we'll fix that.
Yeah, I'll confirm that's correct.
Okay, thanks. Sometimes it was hard to hear who was speaking.
Understood, Secretary Comer. And Secretary Comer, are you gonna also make that notation about 2600 as well?
I'm not quite sure what I'm expected to put in there. Did we discuss that?
You're the one who's saying that it was pointed out to you. I'm just saying what the matter was, that you moved it to a special meeting. That's all.
Yeah, my note was for it to make sense why that was removed and just adding a note that that was changed into a special meeting. So then when someone reads the minutes, it doesn't jump from 0.5 to 7.
Okay, I think that's fair. So why don't we add this matter had been removed from the agenda, and the ANC voted to hold a special meeting on April 28th to discuss it. Does that work for everybody?
This looks great. I believe Commissioner Dolan has his hand raised.
Mr. Dolan, I recognize you.
Thank you. So, in looking back at the draft agenda for the last meeting in section 7D, what was removed last meeting was consideration of a resolution regarding the Department of Human Services budget oversight, I believe. We only voted on 3 things in section 7.4.
Which one are you referring to?
You have the 3 that we did vote on.
Right.
There was originally a 4th one on the agenda. And again, this is, you explained to me how the role of the minutes works here. There was a 4th item on the agenda, consideration of a resolution regarding Department of Human Services, that was removed, where I think the chair removed that at the beginning of the meeting.
Right.
Last
I
meeting.
think I believe we addressed that at the beginning of the meeting, in the minutes
Right.
at the
Is that-
beginning of the meeting. So I think that should cover it.
Okay, thank you.
Because the minutes, my mind should reflect what happened at the meeting, not what was on the draft agenda.
Thank you.
So I'll move to approve the agenda, not the agenda, the minutes for the last regular meeting.
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair Patel is a no. Okay, moving on to the next item. It is the approval of ANC's April 2026 special meeting minutes. Secretary Comer, has there been any edits or additions that you would have made since this was last published?
I have received no comments on that and have made no changes since I submitted them to you.
Okay. Are you moving this item?
I'm moving, looking for a second.
Second.
Who
So who
was-
is this?
Just for the record, who said the second?
Yes,
John Doe.
that's it. Okay. Okay, it has been moved by Commissioner Palmer. It has been seconded by Vice Chairperson Sullivan. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair Patel is a yes. Motion passes unanimously.
I'm
Last item.
abstaining. Point of information. I'm abstaining from this vote.
Okay.
Is that Commissioner Malik?
That Commissioner Malik is abstaining from the special. So it is 5 yeses, 1 abstention.
Thank you.
The last item under administrative matters is the amendment of the standard operations procedure.
Okay, I believe that is me. So, Executive Director, if you could please pull up the redlined version of that as we discussed earlier today. First off, I want to apologize to my colleagues and the public because this afternoon, the Executive Director and I realized that the version of the SOP that was linked from the agenda does not include the proposed changes. So we're going to show those red lines on the screen now. Since they were not made available, I need to read the text. Fortunately, it is short. So as you can see at Article 3, Section 1, it looks like I think it's blue there on the screen. So at Article 3, Section 1, we would be inserting the marked paragraph, and it would read as follows. The requirements of this article shall apply only to resolutions considered at regular meetings of the Commission and shall not apply to resolutions considered at special meetings, except as expressly provided in Article 3, Section 6. Then each section number in Article 3 would be adjusted to reflect that insertion. So 1 would become 2, 2 would become 3. As you can see on the screen, those are the only changes, and I'll very briefly clarify what this is doing. This will exclude resolutions presented at special meetings only from the Article 3 requirements of the standard operating procedures. And the reason for this is because special meetings are emergency by nature. We typically call them when we have time-sensitive business that either comes up on short notice or which has to be completed on strict deadlines. And the overarching goal of the SOP, at least as it's related to resolutions, is to set standards and expectations that improve transparency, increase opportunities for community engagement, and promote stronger collaboration among commissioners. It's not intended to ever make the work of commissioners on behalf of their constituents harder. So far, I think the SOP has been really successful. We've had fantastic communication among commissioners since we passed this. We've been getting the text of resolutions out on time. But as Commissioner Comer experienced with our most recent special meeting, he dutifully got his resolutions for that in on time, but I know that was a real effort on his part to make that happen. So we realized we needed to come back to this text and clarify that in those rare cases where we're dealing with business on very short notice, where things are changing very quickly, sometimes right up until the last minute, that we don't need to be quite as strict with our internal rules for those particular resolutions. So that's the extent of what I'm proposing here. I'm happy to answer any questions about this, but at this point, I'll go ahead and motion that we adopt this amendment.
I'll second it. And thank you for adopting it, but I do have a question.
Yes.
The additional language says, except for something in Article 3, Section 6. Will you
Yes.
read that provision as well?
Absolutely. Can we scroll down to that, please? I don't have that on my screen. So the Article 3, Section 6, as amended, would say the ANC 2A Executive Director shall be responsible for preparing and submitting resolutions and letters passed by the Commission. So what that's doing is saying that even in cases of a special meeting, the executive director is still the person responsible for formatting that after it's been adopted and submitting it to the correct people, as is the case for resolutions passed at other meetings.
Thank you.
I notice in the chat that the chair's computer has frozen. I think I see her coming back on. Okay, never mind.
Chair Patel is here. I've had to join from my phone.
Okay.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi is crashed, which is why I got kicked off. So, I apologize that I could not alert anybody that I got dropped off.
We caught your chat. It was good. So in the interim, we had a motion, a second, and some discussion.
Okay, is there any further comments or questions or discussion from colleagues before I turn to members of the public? They have any questions or comments about this? Okay, seeing no further questions or comments from members of the public, none from colleagues. I am gonna go ahead and call the question and do the vote by division of the House, starting in numerical order.
Commissioner Gifford votes yes.
Chair Patel is a no.
Commissioner Comer votes yes.
Commissioner Dolan votes yes.
Malik is yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-1-0, the one being a no.
Chair
All right.
Patel, do you have video feed at all, Chair Patel?
I do, but I am having to hold my cell phone as I'm trying to troubleshoot my computer.
If you need any help, I see that Christina Henderson has got her hand up ready for the next segment of the meeting when you're ready to call her.
I was about to call her. Thank you. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, it is a report from Councilmember Christina Henderson. Councilmember Henderson, if you are here, please go ahead and raise your hand and we'll promote you. And apologies that I am off camera.
While we're doing that, this is Commissioner Gifford. I also want to apologize for being off camera. I am having a terrible video problem. I am working on it. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to resolve it during this meeting. I regret that. I'll make every effort to be on camera. It's not my normal practice to be off camera, but technical difficulties are occurring.
Ms. Henderson, I see you're on mute. There you go.
Good evening.
Welcome, Councilwoman Henderson. Apologies that I'm off camera, but I did not want to be distracting as I'm trying to fix my computer. So just want to say thank you for coming to ANC 2A, Councilwoman. It's only taken me 6 years to get you here, because that's how long you've been a member of the council. True story, I do know Councilwoman Henderson as when she was candidate, Christina Henderson, back in the day. I want to say she was very gracious when I and her got into a Twitter battle very, very way back in the day. So that's one of our first encounters is she was like, hi, no, that isn't the case. So we had some respectful dialogue and I think we've always had some respectful dialogue moving forward over the last 6 years. So it's a true pleasure to have you at ANC2A and I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Trupti, for the invitation, as well as to the other commissioners and to the public. Good evening. It's a lot going on. So I'm going to try to be as brief as possible. For those who I haven't had the opportunity to meet, I'm Christina Henderson. I'm one of your at-large council members. I also have the pleasure of chairing the Committee on Health. I sit on several other committees as well, but it's been all health all the time for the last, I would say, several months here as we've sort of been going through the budget process. Um, Today, the Committee on Health actually approved our budget recommendation and reports for the fiscal year 2027 budget. Everybody has to care about health because we take up the biggest portion of the DC budget besides public education. Our agencies amount for about a little under $6 billion of the district's budget from both local and federal dollars. And I'm really excited about some of the things that we were able to do in a variety of different areas, enhancing behavioral health and substance use treatment, improving health for birthing parents and families, expanding healthy food access programs, enhancing patient care and outcomes. We supported some career pathways for young people in the health sector, protected patients from high healthcare costs. We strengthened some of our rodent abatement strategies. If you follow me on social media, you know I talk about rats. I talk about our trash problem in the city, and so I'm putting the city's money where my mouth is, I guess, on some of this work around us trying to get better about that. We also made some critical investments in some public health positions, and then also had some funding left over to support some of the council-wide priorities. Um, I take oversight very seriously, and a lot of people are probably wondering, like, how were we able to move so much money around, given the tough budget cycle that we're in? But we essentially do a cavity search with every one of our agencies to see where there are redundancies, were there any mistakes made, were there some things that are nice to have but not needs, and then we're able to make some adjustments from there. We also got a fair bit of money from colleagues in the Committee on Public Works and Operations, as well as the Committee on Youth Affairs, to support some of these priorities. But we're very excited about that. If you're interested in finding more information about what we did, the budget report is on the council website now. And of course, I'm happy to go into detail further on some of these other things, which also included us funding a lot of legislation that the Committee on Health has working on. Let's see. I've recently introduced a couple of other bills, even in the legislative work of budget. Last month, we introduced a Surveillance Pricing Prohibition Amendment Act of 2026, which is intended to protect consumers by preventing businesses from using your personal data to manipulate or increase prices according to an algorithm. This kind of came out of a study that was done by Consumer Reports and Groundwork that found that Instacart was experimenting essentially on district consumers, same basket of goods that people were buying, but depending on where you were in the city, you were getting a completely different price. So hopefully we'll be able to move that forward as well. An interesting one that I did was in response to the Potomac Interceptor, which caused the sewage waste spill along the river, which you guys would know about being so close in sort of Foggy Bottom area. So I introduced the Consumer Levies on Obstructive Garbage, the Clog Amendment Act. And hopefully you saw my science experiment around so-called flushable wipes, which are not flushable. Stop putting those down the toilet. Do something else with it. But anyway, the bill is a conversation starter. DC can't do this alone, but it has been very interesting to have this conversation with some of our regional colleagues and friends within the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments around what it means for every jurisdiction when we are all sharing the same public infrastructure and the choices that we make there together. I'm going really fast because I know that I have a limited amount of time, and questions are usually the biggest thing of what folks want to talk about. So I'll just mention one last thing of something I did earlier today with ANC 4D. They had a ranked choice voting demo where Board of Elections actually came and brought the machines so that folks can try it out because ranked choice voting has made its way to the District of Columbia, which was something that I worked on in the council. And as you guys know by now, hopefully you've received your mail-in ballot, but you'll be able to start dropping those off on May 22nd. And then, of course, the primary election is on June 16th. So there are a lot of things that are going on. Next week, the council will meet for our budget work session, which is an all-day endeavor, going through what all the committees did and then talking about what are some of the council priorities going forward. I'm really thinking about this from the perspective of what is an absolute need versus what is a desire in good revenue times. And I think that that is my approach sort of going into this because I think it's very easy for us to say everything is a need, when in fact that might not necessarily be the case, especially given some of our budget constraints that we're currently facing. And with that, I will take a beat.
Thank you, Councilwoman Henderson. Um, I do have a question for you, but before I ask mine, I'll see if colleagues have any questions for you.
Nobody has any questions? It's so easy. Okay, great. I'll come back to 2A all the time.
No,
Commissioner Comer actually has a question for you, Councilwoman
I'll
Henderson.
answer the question. You mentioned rats, and I'm interested in what you're proposing, but just a short comment. I'm very surprised that the standard trash can baskets we see in the district are open and available to rats. GW has a different system where everything is closed. And I'm glad to see you smiling. Do you want to comment on what you're proposing?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Comer. So you are exactly right. Our current trash can design, which are the Victor Stanley cans, I've learned a lot about trash cans in the last little week here, but they essentially are create an open buffet for our
Yeah.
rodent problem. And so we are trying to transition over to big belly style cans or other cans that are either the pull down or compact, or ones that even alert like, hey, I'm full, come get me. And so there are a couple of things that we did. Trash management in this city is convoluted. There are too many agencies that are involved, but that was beyond my pay grade and the amount of time that we had for this. So we sent money to both the Department of Public Works and the Department of General Services to get them started on purchasing new cans. I think that Councilmember Nadeau also added some additional funding for Public Works as well. For the public who are listening in, and you're probably wondering what we're talking about, Department of Public Works handles the trash cans in the public space, but the Department of General Services handles the trash cans in the public space at DPR facilities and parks, as well as schools. So, in the convoluted nature, I got to send money to two agencies to purchase the same thing, but we're going to get better at it. There was a position that was cut at DC Health that worked on rodent abatement, and we put that position back at DC Health. There were actually a number of ANC commissioners who testified about that, and so we have that going. I do have introduced a bill that's still pending. We were trying to move it as a budget support act title, but there was a lot of moving pieces, which would essentially build in the cost of new trash cans into modernizations of large public spaces. So when we modernize a public school, when we not modernize a rec center, when we do a sidewalk replacement, we should go ahead and incorporate the cost of upgrading the cans at that time. So that's something else I'm pushing for as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's good.
Commissioner Gifford, I've recognized you.
I have a question. I want to go back to some of the comments you were making right near the end of your statement. You were talking a little bit about the budget challenge facing the district in your philosophy towards that. And just because I know we have people viewing this meeting who maybe have not been, we're not at necessarily last month's meeting where we had a little bit of a conversation about the budget. Would you just at a high level describe for me what the severity of the budget challenges that DC are facing right now, and that kind of just restates your core philosophy. I think it was something along the lines of essential core services are make sure we're protecting those, and it may be difficult for some new expenditures to happen in this fiscal environment. But I was just hoping you could drill down a little bit on the size of the problem and kind of how you're approaching it personally.
Sure. So, we knew coming into this budget that in our current fiscal year 26, we are spending about $700 million more than what was available for us to spend in FY 2027. That was at the beginning. We had a $700 million gap. Based on revenues and that's from a number of different things, but largely driven by some hits to the commercial real estate market, as well as hits to the federal government and the number of employees in the district who are now unemployed due to some changes that happened there. The mayor made some different choices in terms of FY 26, so we're moving some money forwards. We're using some of the other things, et cetera. But like the fact of the matter is we still have this gap and it exists throughout the financial plan. Monies were flat, but when this new president came in, things got fluctuated a little bit. And so I think we're having to make those kinds of decisions. We have a lot of folks who come and they have been testifying at our hearings and advocating and all of those different things. And frankly, if I added up everything that everybody is asking us to do, it would amount to about $1 billion in new spending that we don't have, nor do we have for the rest of the financial plan. And so I'm sort of thinking about it from the perspective of if we don't fund this, the system will fall apart. And I'll kind of give you an example. In the Department of Human Services, for instance, I'm on the Committee on Human Services. So at the hearing for the Department of Human Services, the director testified that they will given their proposed budget for fiscal year 2027, they will already start fiscal year 2027 with a budget deficit of about, I think it's like $12 million. And that $12 million are vouchers and not new vouchers. These are vouchers that people already hold on, that already have, that is not fully funded throughout the financial plan. To me, that is a need. Because what we don't want to happen is we get to October or November and we're telling somebody you no longer have a place to live because your voucher was not fully funded. That's something we need to fix. I think a new desire and nice to have is like if someone is telling us like, hey, we need to do some brand new program to make all of UDC free. That's a desire in good financial times. That is not an absolute need for us to do next year. I hope that kind of helps kind of where I'm thinking about this.
Helpful. Framing it, I thank you. And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Henderson, I have two questions for you. The first one is not budget related. About 2 or 3 years ago, ANC 2A put out a resolution around heating and cooling. It was on your bill, which I know unfortunately did not proceed.
Oh, the
I
Cool
know
Act.
Chairman Nicholson has a bill similar to that. And we've been getting emails from members of the public seeing if there's any flexibility in changing when heating and cooling can start.
Yeah.
So if you could speak to that, number one. And then number two,
Go ahead.
the story just broke today. The chairman has found $400 million for the budget. I don't know if you could expound on that. Those are my two questions.
Sure. So the first one is the COOLS Act. We like acronyms in my office. I got a COOLS Act. I got a CLOGS Act. Two of my colleagues have managed to write bills with RAT as the acronym. So it's a lot. Nonetheless, the COOLS Act basically changes the date by which apartment buildings have to switch over from heating to cooling. And given climate change that is happening, it was getting warmer earlier, and folks were kind of dying in their apartments because the heat is still blowing. So we introduced this legislation. We've introduced it twice now, and it's still pending before the Committee of the Whole because it is in part a Department of Buildings regulation, and essentially would just change the date. It wouldn't require, yeah, it would change the date. It would move it up earlier. There have been some pushback from folks about whether or not there should be a specific date or whether it should be a specific temperature that has been sustained over several days. So we'll take this week, for instance, although we're past we're past the existing date of when the transfer had to be transferred over, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, high 90s. It's blazing outside, and then you wouldn't know that Memorial Day weekend because the rest of this week I think is like in the 60s and it's going to be rainy outside. But I still think it's worth it. I feel like we should have some flexibility, and I don't think the date has changed in several years, so I'm glad that we're pushing that conversation forward, and I'm going to keep working with Chairman Mendelson on this because lots of colleagues, we every year, like clockwork, we get these emails from folks who are renting in apartment buildings talking about how it is like devastatingly hot inside their unit. Um, and not everybody has access to open up a window very easily. So to allow for air to flow through. So there's that. Your second part of your question with regard to the $400 million, it's not like 400 million in mythical money. Um, part of it's a couple of different places. So part of it is funding that we should have already been able to be used when we did decoupling that the CFO has been sitting on. So that's part of it. Other part is might a proposal to adjust how we do the reserves. So I think DC is sitting on something like 66 days cash on hand, which is really great for a jurisdiction of our size, but it's well above what is necessary, or excuse me, what is statutorily required. And so using some of those funds to be able to plug. Um, and I think there's like one other thing, which I think was he found a mistake that the mayor's team might have made. So we'll unpack that further. He kind of made this statement, but we didn't have an opportunity for all of us to kind of look at the devil in the details about it. And then further, of course, have a conversation with the CFO around whether or not he would certify that additional funding. The thing I caution folks on is that the majority of that money is one time. It is not throughout the financial plan. So we would again be in the same situation that we are in now, where like we have all this spending and then we're going to hope that in FY28 and every FY29, the economics of the district will turn around and the revenues will increase such that we're able to sustain it. So that is the thing that kind of makes it a little bit difficult, but I think we'll get more into that next week.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Henderson, for your response. Since colleagues have no further questions or comments, I'll go ahead and yield to members of the public. If you are a member of the public and you have a question or comment for a councilwoman, raise your hand and we can go to you. Commissioner Grove, you've been recognized.
Hi, can you hear me? Am I unmuted? Yes. Awesome. Good evening, council member. To go back quickly to the trash cans, I'm a power wheelchair user, and I find it difficult enough to use public trash cans for trash when I'm out in public. I don't know if there must be an ADA standard for accessibility of trash cans. But this goes back to when my children were babies. There was no way to baby proof without mommy poofing at the same time. Has that been thought through?
That is a really good point, Commissioner Groff. And I'm trying to think because for some of these, I think even with our larger compost bins, you know, the ones that we have sort of centralized.
Yeah, that accept food for compost.
Yes, yes.
Yes, I'm not able to reach those either.
Okay. All right. This is something that I hadn't fully thought of, because I know that some of them is a pull down and some of are a step. So I need to talk to the Department of Public Works and DGS around which model they were choosing. But the intent was literally just around they have to be covered. And
Yes, clearly.
yeah,
I am more anti-rodent than anyone, trust me on this. I don't ever say that other R word so that I can sleep at night. So, but I am interested in accessibility issues across the board. Um, I'm 2C02.
okay.
If you could loop me into any conversations about this, I would be very grateful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
If you have any questions or comments for Councilwoman Henderson, please use the raise your hand function. Well, Councilwoman Henderson, it looks like you got off easy. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of hoping the interns would make an appearance.
This is the hard part. It's still light outside, so they're riding their bikes. Um, this is, a couple weeks till summertime. But anyway, thank you so much again, Commissioner Patel, and to the other commissioners for having me. It's great to see you guys.
Take care, Councilor. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item is a report from the mayor's office. If you're here from the mayor's team, please raise your hand. Tamika, you've been promoted. You just have to take yourself off.
Good afternoon or good evening, everybody. My name's Jamaica Williams. With the mayor's office. I only have a few announcements for today. First, DPR and DPW, they're currently hiring for a wide range of seasonal positions. Second, the mayor's office on Asian and Pacific Islander affairs. They're hosting several events in celebration of Asian Heritage Month, which is May. And last, the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs. They have launched a community grant program for organizations that provide services in education and childcare, public safety, healthcare and human services, and economic resilience. I will add the links in the chat for the grants and the events, and also for DPR and DPW hiring if you're interested. And I'll also add my email. So if there's any concerns, please email me. And thank you again. And I hope everybody enjoys their evening. If you have any questions.
Do you have any questions or comments for the mayor's team from colleagues? All right, Jamaica, no one has questions for you from as far as my colleagues are concerned. Um, kind of bummed we didn't have the budget presentation, but we understand.
I
Um,
apologize.
no worries, no worries. If I will see if a member of the public has any questions or comments for you.
Okay, thank you.
If you're a member of the public and you have any questions or comments for the mayor's team, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing no further questions from any members of the public or colleagues, Jamaica, we'll see you next month.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item. We have a report from Metropolitan Police Department. If you're here from members meeting, please raise your hand. Okay, I see 3 people have raised their hands. We're promoting you.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. So perfect. So first, I want to introduce myself. My name is Commander Christopher Dorsey. I'm the new second district commander. I'm definitely very excited to be here. While I'm new to the second district, I'm not new to the MPD. I've been around for about 2 decades now. I worked at various different districts at various different capacities. Most notably, I worked at the second district, I'm sorry, the third district, fifth district, sixth district, seventh district. I worked a little bit in the first district as well. Also have some experience working in different specialized units, most notably the NSID, which is now the Violent Crime Suppression Division. It used to be narcotics. And then also the academy and mostly a lot of criminal investigation division. My last assignment was officer field commander. And pretty much what that was is I worked in the overnight hours while everyone else was sleeping, kind of just overlooking all seven districts, kind of adjusting resources as needed. And then I would promise respond to wherever needed. So I did have to go to the second district on several different occasions. Thus far, I've been on the seat for a couple weeks now. I'm trying to make it to all the ANC meetings as well as various different community meetings. So I do think it's very important to establish good relationships and have a good rapport with community. Obviously, I know you guys are familiar with Lieutenant Kenny Taylor. I had a fortunate to work with him before. Great lieutenant, great guy, very knowledgeable. I'm excited. I'm also excited about Captain Khan. He's coming. I had to work with him previously in the 7th district as well. He's going to do the Sector 3 captain. He's working on a midnight tour. But I definitely want to take my opportunity to kind of introduce myself. I know Lieutenant Taylor has more stats and statistics to give you, but I definitely want to make sure you have a face with the name, and I will provide my contact information in the chat shortly thereafter. One thing for me, I do think it's important to keep a community member updated. So by all means, don't hesitate to reach out to me. If you guys want, I can reach out to you, provide different updates for the community. Other than that, I look forward to seeing you guys out there. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you, Commander. Lieutenant Taylor, Mr. Khan.
Yeah, this is
oh, go ahead. I'll let Captain Khan go.
I'm sorry, I should take it
Going
out to
going in rank and order.
No, quickly introduce myself. Captain Khan, just what the commander said, I recently assigned to the second district. Just on a brief thing, but I was during my career, I was always on patrol. Before the second district, I was a lieutenant in the sixth district for about 3 years, and before that, I was a sergeant in the seventh district. I originally started as a 2D officer here, so it's like a full circle back. And I'm excited to meet all of you, meet all the lieutenants. As the commander said, Lieutenant Taylor has a lot of knowledge and experience here. So just happy to be here and seeing you guys out there.
Thank you, Captain Khan. Apologies, I didn't know what your title was. It just had your name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You said what?
I said apologies, I didn't know your title. It just had your name on. So
okay. For
Lieutenant
some reason,
Taylor.
yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, Chairperson Patel, your audio is kind of choppy. I don't know if anybody made you aware of that. So we're not catching every sentence, but just a few words. But if you all can bring up the stats. Oh, by the way, let me introduce myself for those who might have missed the last couple of meetings. Lieutenant Kenneth Taylor with the second district. I've been there since I believe February. I came over the week of Valentine's Day. So February, coming from the first district, the fourth district, the third district, Special Operations Division, missing persons unit. um, been around the department, so I can bring a little bit of knowledge about the inner workings and hopefully resolve any issues that are arising in the second district. I manage PSA 207. I work on the day shift. I'm off on Fridays and Saturdays in case you don't hear from me on those days, returning your emails. Um, Let's see. If you can bring up the stats that I sent over, so everyone on the screen can see what I'm referring to. If not, then I can try to share them on my end.
Okay, I got them.
Okay. All right. If you want to start with the citywide stats, I'd like to give that out just to give everybody a kind of a picture on where we're looking as a whole city, not just the second district. We'll talk about that in a minute. Uh, Looks like, unfortunately, crime has risen in some areas in the last 30 days. As you can see by the red markings in the last 30-day column. Unfortunately, those are the big three homicides, sex abuse, and ADWs. Uh, so there's been an uptick in those three categories. Fortunately, robberies citywide have gone down significantly by 30%. Um, Conversely, burglaries citywide have seen an increase 34% in the last 30 days. Um, now, if you want to move over to the year-to-date column, just to give you an overview, we're looking at crime down citywide across the board, with the exception of that 39% increase in um, in crimes of assaults with a dangerous weapon. So those are the only violent crimes that are up. For property crimes, year to date, we are looking at a decrease across the board. It looks like we had a very significant decrease in motor vehicle thefts, which I don't know if you all can remember when the Kia Hyundai Challenge first started a year or two ago, and we were really facing a huge rash of vehicle thefts that had sent our numbers skyrocketing. But looks like over time we've managed to bring that back down significantly uh, with a 58% decrease. Okay, now let's move on down to the second district. Okay, in the second district, last 30 days, we've had an increase in the violent crimes of homicide. We've had one in the last 30 days, and also um, also assaults with a dangerous weapon and robbery, as robberies have remained stagnant at 11 compared to this time last year. And the significant increase that we see in the second district as a whole are assaults with a dangerous weapon, and with property crimes, those have seen a good decline, with the only slight uptick in motor vehicle thefts. Yes, in motor vehicle thefts year to date. I'm sorry. Yes, yeah, year to date. Just a 1% up in increase in the motor vehicle thefts for the second district as a whole. Um, Now let's move down even further and just focus on PSA 207. Um, that's the PSA that I manage. I also have the stats for the sector 3, which includes the three PSAs that cover the eastern half of the second district. It's PSA 206, 207, and I'm sorry, 207, 208, and 209. And but focusing on PSA 207, uh, we have, in the last 30 days, we've had a uptick in assaults with a dangerous weapon. As I said before, those are up across the board in second district in all PSAs. Um, and we also have a significant increase in robberies in PSA 207. Um, for year to date, to put that in perspective, we so far in PSA we've had I'm sorry, I lost my place. Okay, in PSA we've had one one homicide in PSA 207. We've had a increase in violent crimes of assaults with a dangerous weapon and robbery. As you can see, the raw numbers may seem low, but they generate kind of a high percentage increase just based on what it was this time last year. Um, so again, we're trending low on a decline on property crimes in PSA 207, which is outstanding with the biggest decrease in burglaries in the PSA. So we're very proud of that. Let me go down to arrests so you can see that arrests have been increasing across the board throughout the city. Um, so that should tell you something that we are out there catching these criminals and processing them, and whether or not they're getting papered or uh, prosecuted and serving time is kind of out of our control. But we are taking people off the street and solving the majority of our crimes, I should say. Um, so you can see that we sit at 12,524 arrests, which is 1,000 arrest increase compared to this time last year throughout the city. If you want to move down to second district arrests, which is the next slide down. Yeah, go down one more. Yeah, second district arrest. If you want to look at the column on the right, all the way at the bottom, you'll see for the second district, we've had an increase in a 13% increase in arrests at the second district. We're currently at 1,166. So we're out there getting the job done, and within the PSA, we're also up 23% an increase in arrests. Keep scrolling to the next slide, please. We have a 23% increase in arrests made in PSA 207, currently at 441 compared to 359 this time last year. Okay, and the last category, but not least, just to give you some perspective on what we're dealing with here, is the number of calls for service, and this department hasn't grown any in the last several years, but at least the calls for service appear to be on a decline. If you look at that right-hand column year to date, uh, last year this time we handled about 195,000, over 195,000 calls for service to 911, and currently we're at 177,000. And I interpret that to mean that the officers out there being proactive and preventing crimes, so that way people don't have to call 911. So you can see the decrease in the number of calls that are being made. Still quite a lot, but the decrease in the number of calls to 911 is a wonderful thing. Uh, for the second district, if you scroll down again, um, you'll see the number of calls for service for the second district has also taken a significant decrease. compared to this time last year. Yeah, last year we were at over 29,000. This year we're a little over 26,000. So that's a good sign. That's trending in the second district as a whole. Uh, and um, lastly, the PSA calls for service for 207. Those are also on the decline, meaning that the officers out there being visible and and preventing and untold, uncalculable number of potential crimes out there. So that reflects in the number of times people are calling 911. So that number is down 5,800 to compared to 6,600 this time last year. So that's uh that's it for all the stats. And if anybody has any questions on the panel, feel free.
Commissioner Gifford, I saw your hand just move.
Sorry for the directness, but it's been over a month since a fatal hit and run accident at the corner of 23rd and L, where a 61-year-old resident of the area was killed. The first question is, where do we stand on any efforts to apprehend a suspect from that tragedy? Question is, there are some fairly widespread reports of, or at least allegations of manipulation of some of the crime statistics. I'm wondering if certainly we tend to rely on these statistics that come to these meetings, reports in the media that there have been some allegations about the accuracy of them. I wonder if you could speak to both of those issues for me. Thank you.
Yeah, so I could speak on it briefly. I obviously can't talk too much about actually both things. However, I give you what I can. First, reference to the accident and the hit and run of where somebody unfortunately lost their life. It was referred to our major crimes. I do know, I've been tracking it. We are making good progress with it. The detective is very thorough. Pretty much what they kind of do for investigations, obviously, get a witness statements video, gather all types of things, and then present it to the United States Attorney's Office, and then see it go forward from there. But as far as I can't give the intimate details of the case, however, I can say they're making good progress, and I'm hopeful that Lieutenant Kenny Teller and or myself or Captain Khan could provide a good update if we're able to make an arrest and arrest that case. But I'm very confident that we'll be going in the right direction. And then for the other question, yes, you mentioned, so our internal affairs did complete an investigation into crime reporting. I can't get into specific investigation, but we do have to kind of go through the administrative process to take its course. And that's kind of process kind of outlined through the MP general orders, where that was completed. Now it's just going through the course right now.
Commissioner Coburn, you're recognized.
Thank you. I want to build on that lower question and talk about traffic enforcement. Where the accident took place is a block from Washington Circle. And as I walk around Washington Circle just yesterday, I saw 4 cars going through red lights. I consistently see cars and motorcycles going through red lights downtown. And sometimes there are Metropolitan Police cars nearby. They don't do anything. I see it on Rock Creek Parkway where there are, the park police. They see red light violations and U-turn violations and don't do anything. And I'm particularly concerned, one, what is the police policy about traffic violations? And two, I'm particularly troubled in Washington Circle because we have this great system of speed cameras. There are two under Washington Circle that are among the top 10 income producers of speed cameras in the city. But they're in a place where there are no pedestrians and very unlikely to be accidents. But we don't have any red light cameras up at the circle where people in cars are more likely to encounter each other. So two questions. What's the Metropolitan Police policy on traffic enforcement? And two, who's in control of all these speed and red light cameras? Is it DDOT? Is it the police? And what can we do to get better enforcement? Thanks.
Well, first, thank you for your question. Yes, we do think it's funny. I actually just came from another ANC meeting just prior to this ended, like shortly ran into over here, and they kind of in kind of close proximity to yours, and they kind of mentioned the same thing as far as that. Oh yeah, so Metropolitan Police Department does take the traffic enforcement seriously. I do know in the second district we do have traffic cars. Obviously, we wear many hats. We have responding calls, 911, that sort of thing. However, we do think traffic is important. As you can see, it could have tragic consequences for people who follow the laws, right? So within the second district, we will make enforcement. Obviously, you can come across different things, whether it be DUI, guns, drugs. You'd be surprised, and just regular traffic enforcement can let you know people are held accountable for their actions. What you can do, and it helped me out, like you said, and that's why I think I like having these communications, talking. We have these type of concerns, specific concerns, like, hey, we always say every day, it might be something really specific where, it's a very particular car. Every day, this guy runs a red light. Every single day is this, red BMW, whatever, right? Pass it on to, Lieutenant Taylor. You call 911, obviously, if it's an emergency. But the more specific you can be, the better. But if it's a particular intersection or time, definitely pass it on, and we could definitely pass it on to our officers to be on the lookout, or I could also assign a traffic car that particular area, and their function is just to do traffic. It's kind of do your, do some of your concerns.
Well, can I just interrupt for a second? I just want you to know it has taken me a year and a half to get DDOT to to agree to add a left turn light at a location where left turns are permitted, but people don't turn because they see a red light, they don't see anything else. They see that there's a sign, but they pay attention to the red light. And it just takes so long to get any reactions. It's been, that was DDOT, not you guys. And I could give you a list of a couple of intersections very quickly.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear your frustration. I don't argue with you at all. But I do think your input is very invaluable, right? Because even though, like, say, it might took the X amount of time, now it's there, right? And it helps out the future, residents there as well. So, if you can just stay strong and keep on just pushing things up train. And sometimes what I say, sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? So, I would continue doing what you say, and
Thank
rest
you.
of that. And we can try our best on our side.
Thank you.
Mr. Malik, you're recognized.
Commander Dorsey, do you know, on Commissioner Comer's point, do we have a higher proportion or a lower proportion of traffic stops relative to the drivers compared to neighboring jurisdictions?
That I don't know off the top of my head. I would have to do some digging to the roughs of that. So I apologize for that. I don't have that information.
Okay. Thank you.
Vice Chair Dolan, recognized.
So, as requested, let me be the squeaky wheel because the residents in my SMD were where the woman who was killed live, and they are desperately looking for any kind of reaction from the broad swath of DC government that A, it listens, and B, it does something. Putting a speed camera on 23rd between the circle and L would be a demonstration to the public that you've heard them and that you're going to do something about it, even if it's only for a couple of days. But demonstrating that you do anything to demonstrate that you listen to them would be incredibly well received.
Yep. So I hear what you're saying. So speed camera 23rd and L. So I will say, obviously, we do something as far as traffic enforcement, as far as red light, speed camera. Like I don't personally put them out there, but we do have the communication with other, hands of the government. Kind of just try to nudge them as best I can, right? Or we could talk offline, like here's what the residents are saying, or you can even say invite them, like, hey, I need you. I'll be great if you come to this ANC meeting next month, and you can talk about here's what we can do to make this happen, right? But I have no problem doing that as far as being a voice for some of the community members as well.
Thank you.
Uh, so now that my colleagues have exhausted all their questions, I have some for you. One's a comment, and the second are questions. The first comment I have is I would like for you guys to come back next month and outline what you can around safety and security protocols for the 250 celebrations. So that's number one. The second is, you know, MPD back to back within weeks of each other have been plagued with two serious scams. And you guys are the face fronting institution for public safety. These scandals don't inspire a sense of safety, transparency, and trust in this institution. So that's number one. So I want to know how MPD is going to address that moving forward. And then the second is the White House has now called for a surge in federal law enforcement protection. And how is MPD going to balance having to work with federal law enforcement and still maintain trust and transparency with members of the public? That's it.
And so I'm going to try to answer as best I can. It might just be me, but it seemed like a lot of your audio was choppy, or I think I got the main gist of it, but I'll try it. If I'm not reaching it, just let me know. So the first question you mentioned is you want us to come by next month and talk about the 250? Was that the question?
That's correct. Can you hear me better on this audio?
Yes, I hear you so much better.
Okay, so that's my cell phone. That the other black box is my cell phone. So yes, so obviously 250 is going to be a lot of visitors, a lot of tourists coming here for 250. I know that it's going to be a lot of security, and I just wanted to know if you would be willing to come back next month and outline some of those protocols. We only meet once a month, and so our July meeting will be after the 250 celebration. So I want to just make sure that when you come next month before ANC 2A, that you're prepared to outline what you're able to around the next 250. I mean, around the 250 celebration.
Yeah, whatever I can share, I have no problem sharing, because I do think it's important to let you know, hey, here's what we're expecting, here's where the big crowds will be. Avoid this area, avoid that area. That's not a problem. One only thing I would ask is you obviously, if you just, I mean, I'm assuming your meeting's already set as far as the date. Forward me the date as quickly as possible or something like that, so I can make sure I get on my calendar, because my calendar does fill up fairly quickly. But if
It's the
not,
17th. It's the
yeah,
17th of June at 7 p.m. We'll be meeting virtually.
okay, yeah. I have no issue around to that, and if not, I'm sure we're gonna have a representative speak on that. And then,
Commander, if I can interject real quick, because this first wave of 250 celebration is going to take place before the next ANC meeting. It's going to be the UFC Freedom 250 with the MMA fight that's going to be held on federal property. I believe the White House ellipse area. And we've already been notified of full department activation between June 11th and the 15th. So you'll see a large increase in our numbers during that time. So this will be the first event first major large scale event that we experience for 250 celebration, and the all the other ones will just be forthcoming as they draw near.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. And like Lieutenant Taylor stated, for a lot of these events, we will scale up our staffing, just make sure we have appropriate coverage as well as security. Obviously, we take it very seriously. But yeah, we'll definitely do it. And I do know a lot of times, sometimes we'll put things out in the media as far as like, hey, this area is blocked off. This traffic is avoid this area. And I know that it's helpful to residents to know what's blocked off and not blocked up as well. And then I guess to address your other question, as far as obviously yes, I do think the Metropolitan Police Department is obviously the face of the most forward-facing law enforcement entity within the Washington D.C. I think it's extremely vital to work hand in hand, have the community's trust and partnership. That's why I take very seriously. I provided my contact number. When I got here, make sure you see a face with a name. As you can see, or you will find out, I am very personable. I don't mind communicating. I don't mind talking to you, whenever, about whatever bothers you, and then really try to make adjust the personnel to kind of help hit your areas of the pain points per se. However, like I said, I do think it's important as far as like keep on gaining community trust. All I can tell you is that I will make sure my team, Captain Khan, Lieutenant, all the way down to the officers, try to be as engaged as possible, professional as possible, and work with that transparency because I think that's extremely important. And I will keep on, driving that home. As far as the balancing between the surge and stuff like that, even working my time with the, NSID, we did with, work with federal law enforcement partners for years now, right? And I have found them to be extremely helpful. Right now, I know they said they're going to get additional more personnel. Thus far, I do know we are in, close communication a lot of times, as far as, telling them, hey, we might need more assistance in this area of the city or whatnot, depending on what's happening, right? So I think we do these meetings and I know there's meetings monthly. You have, I'm sure, monthly meetings and we have various different meetings. I think you will see that Lieutenant Taylor, I think you brought in, all this information for the last year to date, month to date, citywide, 2D, 207. So we'll try to provide all as much information as you have. And obviously, when we have these conversations, if you have something, you have additional questions, if we're able to, provide information, we will. Some of the challenges I think sometimes when people ask about active investigations, I can't speak on that. I'm not going to pretend I will speak on it, but I can tell you if we're making good leads, or I will also ask for your assistance because I do think it's important. Every now and then will come out things where hey, we might have a good image that I could push out to the community, and it might be very helpful where you could identify somebody, or it might be hey, there's good. This I really want the community to know about this. Like what I've been talking a lot of times, theft models, right? Hey, it'd be great if you guys could push out, let everyone know not to leave things into your, like valuable items like in your cars, right? I've been speaking that ad nauseum to a lot of community members, but things like that is extremely helpful. So it's kind of a give take as far as working with the law enforcement and working with the community. And that's far in my career, I said I've been very successful as well establishing that rapport and relationship, and I take that very seriously.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I had nothing else. Seeing no further questions or comments from colleagues, I'm going to go ahead and turn to members of the public to see if they have any questions or comments for you around MPD. If you are a member of the public and you have a question or comment for MPD, please raise your hand. *9 if you're on the phone. Okay, seeing no further questions or comments from members of the public or from colleagues, gentlemen, thank you for your presentation tonight, and I look forward to seeing some of you back next month to talk about the 250 celebration protocols.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Everybody stay safe.
Okay, item next up on the agenda is a report from Ward 2 Councilmember Brooke Pinto's team. If you're here from the Councilwoman's office, please raise your hand. Hannah, you've been promoted. You have to take yourself off mute.
Hey everybody, can you see and hear me okay? Awesome. I will try to be quick, keep you guys on schedule. First of all, I know we've already talked about this a little bit, but I wanted to acknowledge the horrific crash that occurred at 23rd and L. The council member and our office want to express our deepest sympathies for the loss of Miss Saccone. As the MPD representatives discussed a little bit, their investigation is ongoing. They believe they have some promising leads. We'll share any updates as soon as they're able to share them with us. DDOT is also reviewing this intersection to see what safety changes can be made. We know there are a lot of intersections in West End and Foggy Bottom that need review, try to slow down drivers, make pedestrians safer. We appreciate that so many residents have been turning their grief into advocacy and sending us a lot of really great ideas. Shifting gears to talk about the budget, the council is continuing to review the mayor's proposed FY27 budget. The Judiciary Committee had our last hearing for budget a couple weeks ago for Fire and EMS, Department of Corrections, and OVSJG, which is Office of Victim Services Justice Grants. We had over 160 public witnesses who testified at that hearing. Other committee budget hearings have wrapped, and we are now in the middle of committee markups. The first vote will be the week before Election Day, the second vote the week after. Councilmember Pinto is deeply concerned about the impact of proposed government-wide budget cuts and is continuing to explore avenues to ensure that DC residents have the critical services that they need. At the council's not last legislative meeting, 2 legislative meetings ago at this point, earlier this month, the permanent version of the youth curfew zones passed. The mayor has signed off this week, will now go to congressional review. The emergency version does not have the votes to pass at this time. So as a reminder, these zones are no longer able to be used until the permanent version of the bill goes into effect. The violence we have been seeing recently is, of course, unacceptable. Our local government needs to have the ability to use common sense, preventative, and accountability measures to keep our community safe and invest in youth programming. We must do both. Violence is never acceptable. Councilmember Pinto has worked with Councilmember Crawford, the mayor's office, and DPR to ensure that teen programming is taking place at the same time as these curfew zones are in effect in the future, and has helped fund additional hours for rec centers in the FY27 budget, in addition to other programs that she is pursuing. In other exciting news, during yesterday's brief committee of the whole meeting, the naming of Greens Court Park passed. There is a $6,000 fiscal impact statement associated with it for new signage, and the council member is committed to funding that as part of the FY27 budget. We want to thank ANC2A and the Foggy Bottom Association for your patience as this continues to move forward. This was also touched on a little bit with the MPD representatives. We know you've all seen in the news that several MPD officers were placed on administrative leave over data manipulation allegations. Councilmember Pinto believes that accuracy in reporting crime statistics is critically important for public trust and for assessing the effectiveness of our overall public safety interventions. It's why she has continued to conduct oversight on this issue and has requested responses in writing from MPD about their reporting processes for crime statistics. As MPD continues its internal investigation, the council member will continue to seek answers to these allegations to ensure that our local police department is operating with integrity and honesty so that we can help keep our residents safe. One last little aside, I think we all know the primary election is coming up. Make sure your voter registration is up to date. Mail-in ballots have been sent out. You can sign up for text alerts to track your ballot, or please contact the Board of Elections if you haven't received your ballot yet. If you haven't researched ranked choice voting, the Board of Elections has some really helpful information on their website. And last but not least, the Department of Public Works announced this week that they're collecting trash and recycling starting at 6 a.m. throughout the summers, try to get the crews out and beat the heat. So please try to put your bins out the night before, unless you're planning on waking up before 6 a.m. And with that, if anyone has any questions.
Hannah, I do have some questions, but before I go into mine, are there any questions or comments from colleagues for Hannah before I go into mine? Okay, seeing no questions or comments from colleagues, I have some comments and questions. So number one, thank you for the update about Greens Court naming and that the councilwoman is committed to that. I do know that last time I checked in with your team, we were waiting for the sign off from DPW for the designation for Snow's Court Alley. Do you know where we stand on that?
I do not. Do you remember who you spoke to?
It would be Brian.
Okay. I have not heard an update on that recently, but I can check with maybe someone on our legislative team would know.
Okay, thank you. And then second, of course, budget stuff. So in several hearings, not just Councilwoman Pinto's, there has been a real plea and a real cry to restore services for domestic violence victims. I believe it was zeroed out in this year's budget. I'm not sure. I believe the budget ask was 600,000. I'm paraphrasing what the other advocates have said. Do you know if the councilwoman has found money in her committee to fund those critical services?
I specifically would have to check, just because I'm not as familiar with the budget as our legislative team is. They were finalizing that committee report today, so I should be able to get you an answer. I just don't know it off the top of my head. I do know that obviously victim services are a huge priority for the council member. I just don't know about that line item specifically.
Okay, and once again, this is another question around the budget. This is around the Office of Attorney General. A lot of worker rights advocates and organizations have been pounding the pavement looking for money for two specific programs, both of which have been zeroed out. I believe the workers' rights education grants that were being funneled through the Office of Attorney General, those grants will no longer be continued because there was no funding in it. And I believe the next thing that the Office of Attorney General was tasked and had taken under their wing was issues around domestic workers. I believe that funding was also zeroed out. Um, do you know if there is going to be funding for those two programs to be reallocated as well?
I would also have to check for specific line items, but I will ask tomorrow and try to get you an answer as quick as I can.
Okay, I do understand like there's been the mad rush and dash for a lot of these committee reports and recommendations. A lot of it hasn't even been released to the public yet, and which I know will be voted on, and the chairman then makes the decision. As people say, Phil's magic money time, as you know, he starts, trying to piece together other priorities that didn't get funded at his discretion. All right, that's all I had for you, Hannah. I will see if members of the public have any questions or comments for you. If you are a member of the public and you have any questions or comments for Hannah from the councilwoman's team, please raise your hand and we'll promote you. If you are on the phone, it is *9. Well, looks like you got off easy, Hannah. Looks like no members of the public had any further comments or questions for you. We'll see you next month.
Yeah, sounds good. I was writing down those programs that you asked me about. I will try to shoot you an email tomorrow.
Okay, and if you need me to verify it in email tomorrow, I can also get the specific name of those programs too.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night, y'all.
You too. The next item that was supposed to be up on our agenda was a report from Carla Garcia from the DC Board of Elections around ranked choice voting. We were notified at the last minute that there was an all hands on deck situation that required all voter education personnel to be at a different site for tonight. So they send their regrets. They did send their presentation, so we'll make sure Edie Shellis does put that up on the website so members of the public can go ahead and see that. The next item up on the agenda is commissioner updates. We'll go ahead and start in numerical order.
In the interest of time and due to the length of tonight's agenda, I am going to pass.
Thank you, Commissioner Gifford. The only update I have is budget oversight is over. Many of the council members and the committees that they chair are in the process of writing up their budget reports and putting forward their recommendations to the chairman. As Councilwoman Henderson said, like there will be in about a week or 2 weeks an all-day marathon session where all members of the council will be putting forward what they'd like to see in this year's budget. It is, once again, to emphasize, it is going to be a very, very lean budget. But as of today, $400 million was found. Of course, it's developing. So let's see if some of the priorities that are so desperately needed will get some of the 400 million that is coming. And that's it for my updates. Next person up.
Commissioner Comer, again, in the interest of time, I'll skip an update. Thanks.
Commissioner Dolan, we had a very productive meeting at the West End Library with the builder for 2100M. Just a reminder to all that we will be, there'll be a resolution at our June meeting related to that. So just heads up.
I will also refrain from comments in the interest of time.
I'll also refrain from comments.
All right, and then the last agenda item for this section is announcements and public comments. If you're a member of the public and you have a comment or a public announcement, please raise your hand and we'll go ahead and recognize you. Miss Eaton, you've been promoted. You have to take yourself off mute.
All right, thank you. I imagine this may have come up before, but I request that the commission consider making the list of participants on the call available while we're having the meeting so we know who is with us during the discussion time.
Thank you for your feedback. Any further questions or comments from members of the public before we move on? All right, seeing no further questions or comments, we're moving on to the next agenda item. This is matters before the Zoning Commission. Vice Chairperson Dolan, I will need you to run the meeting for the next couple of minutes. I need to step away.
Okay. Sorry, I said okay. I hadn't planned that. So we are on 4 matters before the Zoning Commission application, GW University. Commissioner Malik, that looks like it's yours.
Thank you very much. I believe that we have at least a couple folks here from George Washington University. I would invite them to come on, introduce themselves, and give us a presentation on this. After that, I'll have a few quick comments and then be happy to answer any questions from my colleagues or members of the public.
Good morning, commissioners. Kevin Days from GW. I wondered if my colleague, I see Lee Templeton, is joining me. Thank you for an opportunity to present to you on the 2001 Pennsylvania Avenue PUD modification with hearing. My name is Kevin Days. I'm the Executive Director for Government Community Relations at the George Washington University, and I'm joined by Lee Temple, who is the from Golston and Stall's Land Use Council for the university. We're going to present tonight's plan to modify the PUD at 2001 Pennsylvania Avenue. I wondered if I could present my presentation, if I could get the opportunity to share that.
Fine with me. How do we do that?
Usually,
I'm giving permission right now.
Great.
Can you just confirm that you can see my screen?
We can see your screen.
Thank you. So the building of 2001 Pennsylvania Avenue is just across the street on Pennsylvania Avenue. There's a zone map here. You can see the building as the blue dot. This property we presented last summer when we made our presentation for the notice of intent, and we're back tonight to give the final presentation and ask for your support. So I just want to give you some background on the property. 2001 is currently improved with an 11-story mixed-use building consisting of office space on the upper floors and retail space on the ground floor. The university acquired this property in late 2024 as part of efforts to strategically meet administrative and academic space needs at the university. At present, the majority of the building remains leased to non-university tenants, but in the near term, we'll be making some changes. Right now, we plan to utilize this vacant office space within the building as swing space for academic and administrative offices. Our plan is to activate the vacant retail space with the university-related uses, which we believe will help maintain an active and welcoming streetscape. In the long-term version, the university is evaluating many long-term options for the building, but at this stage, we anticipate primarily the long-term use of the building will include administrative and office space to support the university's operations, some academic uses that will enhance the university's ability to meet institutional priorities, and we're committed to ensuring that the building's future use complements the surrounding neighborhood, and maintains the life of the area. At this point, I'm going to turn to my colleague, Lee Templin, to walk you through the specifics of the zoning application. Lee?
Thanks, Kevin. So for some background, the property is subject to a PUD that was approved back in 1988, which authorized construction of the mixed-use office and retail building that's there today. To enable the uses Kevin just described, the university filed a modification of the PUD in Zoning Commission case number 87-23A that would, one, permit university uses on both a portion of the ground floor and the upper floors of the building, and two, authorize new building identification signage to appropriately reflect the university's presence while also being mindful of the building's design and the neighborhood's character. Next slide, please.
May I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Who else is involved in the PUD?
So it's the university. The original PUD also included Pepperdine and the Arts Club, which are the buildings to the west of the property.
I see. So it's just 3 buildings in the PUD?
Correct. Yeah, those 2 other properties. But the modification application, the only applicant is the university.
Okay, thank you.
So since we last presented to you prior to filing, we wanted to highlight 2 updates that have been made with respect to the ground floor in response to feedback we received. First, the university has committed to retaining the western bay of the ground floor, which is currently occupied by 4-5 Coffee as retail. Second, thanks to conversations with Commissioner Malik, the university plans to reopen the retail located within District House, which is located just a couple blocks away for public access during weekday daytime hours. While the western bay—
I have another
Sure.
question. You say you're going to open for public access during retail hours. Will there be signage to the public to tell them that?
There
Jim,
will.
I could
There will.
yes,
Yeah,
I could
go
take
ahead,
that
Kevin.
question. Yes, the university is committed to providing signage that will inform the public that the ground floor is open and provide the hours. We're
Thank
just
you.
figuring out the type of signage.
Okay.
And so just to give a little more detail about the ground floor, the western retail bay that's shown here in purple, which is currently occupied with the coffee shop. The eastern bay has been vacant for several years. It was previously occupied by the Bank of America. Because the university anticipates major challenges in leasing this eastern bay space to retail tenants due to physical obstacles with that space, including there's a long and narrow floor plate, and the grade change along 20th Street precludes breaking up the space into multiple spaces or connecting outdoor patio seating along 20th. So rather than leaving that space vacant, the university plans to fill it with active student-facing uses to help draw university activity north across Pennsylvania Avenue into the downtown business district consistent with the city's downtown action plan. The District House, on the other hand, already has existing restaurant uses, and it's located where there's currently more activity. So it's really a one-for-one, if not better, replacement, since District House has about 5,000 square feet, whereas this space has 4,000 square feet, and it's currently vacant. Next slide, please. So just to orient you, shown here is District House, which is highlighted in blue, and its relationship to the property. As you can see, it's just about a block and a half to the west and to the south. As you might remember, District House used to provide retail space as publicly accessible, but in 2022, the university modified the District House PUD to limit the retail space to students to help support a new campus dining program that was focused on healthy, affordable food and student gathering. While maintaining District House as a student-focused third space still remains a priority, the university plans to restore public access during those weekday daytime hours and reserve it for students only on nights and weekends. As Kevin just mentioned, the university will post clear signage at the site detailing those public hours. The university understands the community's desire for retail and believes that this one-for-one replaces reaches a really good compromise that balances both the needs of the students and the broader community. Next slide. The second modification is to add building identification signage. The signage will be located on the ground floor on the I Street frontage and then the upper stories on the I Street and 20th Street sides. The signage will illuminate at night similar to other signs in the area, and as shown, the proposed signage is modest in scale and consistent with surrounding signage. Next slide. As part of the application, the university is also seeking flexibility from the short-term bicycle space and location requirements. Due to a number of items in the public space around the building, including a bus shelter, public art installation, and an existing Capital Bike Share station, there's just not enough space for the required short-term bike spaces. The university engaged early on with DDOT, early in the application process to work on a solution to the bike parking. And so the university is proposing 40 long-term spaces, which is an additional 20 over the requirement, and 36 short-term spaces, and requests flexibility to locate the short-term bike spaces outside of the strict 120-foot radius around the building's entrance. But as you can see, the bike spaces will still be located directly in front of the building on either the I Street or the 20th Street frontages. Next slide. So to summarize, the university is requesting a modification of the PUD that was approved in 1988 to 1, authorize university use as a permitted use on a portion of the ground floor and the upper stories, and 2, to authorize new building identification signage. As a side note, we appeared before ANC 2C last week, and they voted to support the application, though they recognize that the property is located within the boundaries of ANC 2A, so their support deferred to 2A support. The Zoning Commission will hear the case at their public hearing on June 8th, and with that, we're happy to take any questions, and I'll pass it back to Kevin.
Thanks, Lee. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, well, thank you so much for the presentation. A few quick comments, like I said. First off, I want to just offer sincere thanks to Kevin, Lee, and the entire team at GW for their good faith negotiations throughout this process. There's been a lot of conversations about this dating back a number of months at this point. Not always easy, but always productive, and I appreciate that.
And we greatly appreciate your collaboration too, so thank you.
When the application was first presented, it would have eliminated a key public benefit, 2 ground floor spaces designated for retail use in perpetuity, without a replacement of equal value. And I'm pleased that the agreement reached between myself and the university, which I'm asking my colleagues on the commission to approve tonight, would permanently preserve one of those 2 retail units, while simultaneously, as was explained, restoring public access to the existing retail space inside the district house. Now, I do think it's worth noting that the public access to the district house space is a restoration of benefits that were previously negotiated and then taken away. So the request an amendment to the agenda so that I have time to finish my comments, please. Such time as may be necessary.
We have a second on that motion for an extension. How long of an extension do you need?
5 minutes.
Hi, Commissioner Mallett.
Who was the second?
Do we need a motion? I think it's fine for Mallett at this point.
You're breaking up, Rob. Are you seconding? Just to give a thumbs up.
I could second a motion. I don't know that we need one, but I would say go ahead, Jim.
Commissioner Malik, I'll defer to you as the parliamentarian. Do we need a motion on this?
I would just ask that the chair ask that this be passed by unanimous consent.
Chair asks that
Hearing no
this be
objection,
passed by
we don't
unanimous
have to
consent. Hearing no objection, you've been allocated 5 minutes more.
The chair is here. I mean, I ask that you guys be mindful of the time. You're the ones who asked that that meetings run quicker. So I'll grant the additional 5 minutes, but please be mindful, like, of the time constraints. We still have a lot more to go through.
With appreciation. So as I was saying, I do think it's worth noting that this is a restoration of public benefits. So the ultimate result, if you take the two PUD modifications together, is a net reduction in guaranteed public retail. And I think that that's unfortunate. It's my fundamental belief that this commission should exercise an extreme amount of caution when dealing with PUD modifications. Hard-won public benefits should be vigorously protected, and their removal should be subject to a high level of scrutiny. Nonetheless, this compromise is a good one for all parties. It protects the 2001 Penn retail space that's currently in use. It restores a public benefit that should not have been eliminated in the first place, and it sets an expectation that the reduction or the elimination of community benefits should be balanced by the introduction of other equally valuable benefits. So with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions about this proposal. And I'm moving for adoption of my resolution, which is linked from the agenda. We can pull that up. If there's any questions about the resolution, I'm happy to answer them. Very briefly, it's an extensive resolution, but it subjects our approval to 3 criteria. 1, that the university reopen District House for public access, as has been explained. 2, that the requested modification to the approved PUD apply only to the eastern ground floor bay, with no modification of any kind to the existing retail condition of the approved PUD of the western ground floor bay. And 3, that the university file an application to modify the current District House PUD within 90 days of issuance of the final written order in this case. So all of that is really just to codify and lock in the commitments that the university has made in this meeting and throughout our conversations. So again, very much appreciate everyone's good faith negotiations on this, and appreciate the time granted to finish my comments.
Thanks, Jim. Are there any other questions, concerns?
Any questions or comments from colleagues before I turn to members of the public on this? Okay, seeing no further questions or comments from colleagues on the matter, I'm going to go ahead and turn to members of the public. Commissioner Groth, I did not know you were already elevated to a panelist.
Thank you for elevating me to a panelist. I can't figure out one. There we go, video. Yes, I just want to express the appreciation of Commission 2C, to Commissioner Malik, and to the Foggy Bottom Commission for doing this work. When GW presented to us last summer, many of us were dubious as to why the PUD relief should be granted. And I very much appreciate Commissioner Malik's work in working out what seems to be a good compromise. I especially like that more affordable food options will be available to the public. That's certainly very much a public benefit. So I completely agree that PUDs should not be released just willy-nilly, but thank you for doing the work.
Thank you, Commissioner Groth. If you're a member of the public, you have any further questions or comments, please raise your hand and we'll elevate you to a panelist.
Ready for me? Madam
Hi,
Chair.
Barbara, you're recognized. You're recognized.
Thank you. I wrote in the Q&A and didn't get an answer. I have not been able to understand what student facing means, and I would like the university to explain what that term means in English and to provide a specific examples for what that would mean on the Eastern Bay.
Certainly, happy to do so, Barbara. I think when we say student services, student-facing services.
Student facing is the term you use.
Yes, Barbara. when we say student facing, we mean services that students would use. So for example, there is some discussion about placing the employment center at that location. So students would use that space, would come from the main campus, go into that space, and that's what we talk about when we talk about activating the neighborhood, because students will go to that to get services, and then while over there, visit various retail opportunities, so food or coffee and that kinds of things. So when we say student facing, that's what we mean.
Do you have another example besides the employment
Some
incentive?
discussion about maybe perhaps the admission office might move over. Those are the two options I've heard, but the university is exploring many other options.
And in those options, would there be a bathroom? Since when we walked the space, there was no bathroom, and that's why you thought it wasn't good for retail anymore.
I assume that the university, if it had made that space available to use for students and staff, would in fact put in a bathroom.
But you wouldn't for retail?
We didn't say that. We said that would drive the cost up for retail. And as again, we've pointed out multiple times, there hasn't been any interest in that space.
Thank you for answering my questions.
Certainly, Barbara.
Hi, Frank, you've been promoted.
Hi, Frank Leon, Foggy Bottom Historic District. Quick question on the retail at District House. I assume that's the Pete's Coffee that is on the main level. Does it also include the restaurants that are sort of down the stairs?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Seeing no further questions or comments from members of the public, go ahead and turn back. Commissioner Malik, I see your hand is raised. Did you have another comment?
No, I want to go ahead and move that the commission adopts my resolution.
I still had a comment that I wanted to make.
Okay, well, I'll withdraw my motion.
All right. So I just want to clarify some things because I know I did step away from the discussion. I know, Commissioner Growth was on here earlier. ANC 2A has been put in this position about PUD modifications having come before us involving the loss of public benefits. And while I understand that the intent when PUDs were created with the intention of giving public benefits, this was all done before COVID hit. COVID has changed the entire landscape of everything. A lot of things that were meant to be public benefits, wanted to be given, can't be done through protocols that have been initiated by the lead. We went through this with the IMF. The George Washington University purchased this building. They inherited a PUD. But the reality is, like, downtown is not what it used to be. And there is a lot of vacant space. I don't want to see dead space. That is the sentiment of several members of the council. They want to see downtown become vital, but we also need to tread carefully in not being deemed unreasonable. There is a sentiment that is starting to be expressed to the council by stakeholders saying that ANC commissions across the city are viewing these situations in a combat, hostile style. And like, it's not good for the ANC, it's not good for the stakeholders. Most importantly, it's not good for our public. I'm glad that we were able to get a concession to keep something, but the reality was the PUD modification was going to be granted. There was no grounds that the ANC had to prevent the modification from going through as is. The university did not have to continue negotiations, and I'm very appreciative that the university did continue that. And so that's all I wanted to say for the record. So since the question has been called, And, we can go ahead and move it. Oh, I see Commissioner Malik has raised his hand.
Thank you. I just wanted to say for the record that I disagree with the chair's characterization of whether or not negotiations were necessary in this. And I did previously withdraw my motion, so I'm going to re-offer that motion now to adopt my resolution as presented on the agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and do this by division of the House, starting in numerical order. Commissioner Gifford, did you vote? Okay, we lost you on audio, but I'm going to see that your thumbs up is a yes. Chair Patel is a yes.
Commissioner Comer is a yes.
Commissioner Dolan's a yes.
Malik is yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Okay,
Commissioners,
coming up.
no, just was going to thank you for working with us. We understand the importance of these public benefits, and as a member of the community, we're very much interested in reaching a position that can satisfy everyone involved.
All right, thank you so much, Kevin.
Thanks.
Thank you very
Have
much.
a good
night.
Have a good night now.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda. This is matters before APCA. The first item up is Proper 21, which is under Commissioner Malik's SMD.
Point of order. You skipped an item, the matter before the Public Space Committee in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia Embassy.
My apologies, Commissioner Comer. I was looking straight at it and my eyes went to the next.
That's fine.
Okay, so apologies. The next item up on the agenda is matters before the Public Space Committee. And this is under Commissioner Comer. Please go ahead.
Thanks. I just want to introduce this very quickly. The Saudi Arabian Embassy is making plans for what I understand is a major renovation. They have, at this point in time, I am asking them just to make a presentation about it for the public. They're in a somewhat secluded space between the Kennedy Center, the freeway, and they're only across from one or two buildings in the Watergate complex that I have notified about this. For security reasons, they have asked that we not publicize their presentation, and I have it on, which means we will show it here, but they've asked not to attach it for the record. And I have it on very good advice that that's what our State Department does when we're making presentations for our embassies and buildings overseas. So I would like to do that. We are not proposing any resolution at this point in time. They made appearances before. I think it's the Fine Arts Commission, and the Fine Arts Commission will shortly come out with its report. And I think the appropriate thing for us to do is wait to see that report before we make any final recommendations. But I think it's important everybody get to see the proposal at this point in time. So with that, I'll turn it over to
Point of information, if I may.
Yes.
So Commissioner Comer, you said that there's a request to not publicize this, and before we proceed, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. It's not, I don't think, possible under the law for us to exclude anything that happens from the meeting recording. So if we show the presentation on screen, that recording is going to be made publicly available, and anybody who wants to see it would then be able to do so.
I hear you, and you're right about that. We can't avoid that, but what I'm asking is we don't attach the presentation on the web. Okay. And thanks for that clarification. You're right, that's unavoidable.
Also, sorry, just a second point of information. Is this mostly just a formality? Like I assume as a sovereign embassy, we don't have any actual authority over final decision here?
Well, why not? I'm not quite sure that it's a pure formality. I think the public should be aware of it. There may be issues in terms of noise or something else down the line that, we may have some input on. I don't think it's our job to fine tune, and get into the details of their proposal, but I think the public should be aware of it.
Yeah, so sorry, no, yeah, I understand that. I guess the question is just like,
Yeah, that's a good question.
whether unlike sort of other sort of requests in the area, like whether we would have any sort of actual weight on this particular one.
It's a good question. There actually turns out, this is first embassy I've dealt with. It turns out that there's a special zoning commission for embassies that have some federal part participants on it. And frankly, I expect, we're going to look at this briefly and lightly. To me, the biggest questions, are not what happens inside the embassy, but there may be questions in terms of if there's an impact on parking or accessibility or noise. That could be mitigated without any particular, won't really affect the underlying basic plans. I've already had one person ask me a question about the outside, and we'll see if they still have those questions once they see the presentation.
Commissioner Comer, so this is just only a presentation. There will be no action taken on this.
I want to delay action until we see the report from the Fine Arts Commission. I just
But
think
do they need our approval to go before the Fine Arts Commission?
they've already gone before the Fine Arts Commission.
Okay, so does the Fine Arts Commission need something from ANC 2A?
Say that again.
Does the Fine Arts Commission need a letter of support or an action from ANC 2A?
I would like you to ask the presenters that question. They have asked us to act. I am not completely sure that we need to, but they would like our support, I think, but I think that's a very good question, whether or not they really need it. And, we don't have to decide that today.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
It sounds like there's kind of a long, complicated approval process. So it just seemed to me to make sense rather than, see this and rush it. Wait and see what the Fine Arts Commission says and see if that affects anything that neighbors might care about in terms of, impact on the neighbors themselves. Does that make sense?
It does. Okay.
Okay, thanks. The presenters, are they here? Can you bring them up, Executive Director?
Yes, we currently have Emilio. I'm not
Okay,
quite sure if
yes.
he's brought
Emilio,
someone else. If Emilio can please let us know if there's someone joining you.
Yes. Are you able to hear me and see me?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Perfect. Fantastic. Thanks, Commissioner Ed, and thank you, other members of the Commission, for allowing us to come before you today and present the project. I'm joined by my colleagues today, Youngtek and Kara. Youngtek is a project designer, and Kara is a landscape architect. I'm project manager for the project with HOK. We're all with HOK, and like Commissioner Comer had mentioned, this is a very multi-step process. ANC is certainly one part of the process. We're required to go to the State Department with Office of Foreign Missions, Foreign Mission Building Zoning Adjustment, ANC as well as CFA. And so there's several agencies that we need to meet with in the district before we proceed with permit. But today we're going to review briefly, and I know we have a short amount of time, but we want to briefly go through the presentation, show you the proposed plans for the project, and then certainly answer any questions that the commission and or the public might have about the project. So with that, I'll hand it over to Youngtek. Youngtek, you want to share your screen and run through the presentation?
I'm sorry, I don't see your colleague here, but I see another Emilio.
I think there's two of me because I'm on my phone and my computer as well. Sorry.
Okay, I'm just
I don't
making
have I
sure.
don't have
Oh,
a clone.
there they are. I'm promoting them right now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna turn on my camera. Don't know quite how. Okay, and I'm gonna share my screens. One, two, three. Okay, share. Please let me know if you can see my screens.
We can see. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. So I really appreciate for the opportunity to present our design for the renovation of Saudi Embassy tonight. And it seems like we almost missed the opportunities if you skip this agenda today and listening to a meeting. Okay, so we're like, wow. Okay, so I'm Yoon Tae Hyun, and I'm principal and senior designer with HOK, and I'm going to just quickly go over the overall presentations as we have a limited times. So the design team, as a design team, we fully understand that the site is located in a very, very prominent and also sensitive part of the Washington, D.C., which is surrounded by both institutional and residential buildings and around. So because of that, we have taken a very, very restrained approaches and focusing on preserving the existing characters and also avoiding major transformations. And also, we wanted to make sure that the design remains very compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. So the building is obviously the mid-century modern structures, approximately 70 years old, and also Saudi Embassy has occupied for more than 40 years, right? So the renovation is primarily driven by necessary upgrades, particularly the aging window with significant amount of condensation, and also there is an inefficient insulation behind all the stone cladding and overall declining building performance, and also there's just some security concerns for the existing, the conditions. So this renovation is sort of intended to prepare the building for another next 50 years. So for this project, the Saudi embassies, our clients, they think this project has a really great, providing a great opportunity to carefully introduce also another layer of Saudi identities to this building, while very carefully respecting and fully respecting the building's existing architectural integrities. Just go over just quickly, on the existing building. So this is the architectural style reflect very, very typical mid-century modern composition, as I mentioned before. So it has a clear hierarchy with symmetries and also base, middle, top, and verticals, and also strong vertical entrance at the centers with a strong hierarchical and with also very repetitive patterns across the both wings, as you see, and also using very consistent the modern um more like a timeless the material across the project, and so our approach was just fully respect and maintain this character and architectural the orders. And so most of the member of our project teams have coincidentally over 20 years of experience working on both Washington DC project and also Saudi Arabia project and remotely. And so that experience was very critical in developing a project like this one's supposed to be carefully aligned with Washington DC's architectural language while thoughtfully incorporating it sort of new Saudi identity. So also besides that, as you see this screen, so Saudi Arabia has established design principle, which is called sort of Salmani Code, which emphasize reinforced cultural continuity within architectures, and we just try to make sure that our design approach is closely aligned with this the close this the design principle. And so, that is include, passive design thinking with deep setback, which is already part of the original buildings, and verticalities is part of the original building characters. And so key driver of our proposed design is materialities and patterns. So we use a lot these triangular geometries throughout the project, which is sort of fundamental unit, fundamental DNA, which can be found in many traditional Saudi patterns. And also, so we applied it in a very subtle and consistent way across the project. So also
Can I interrupt you for a second? At one point in time, you had some pictures up. Did you intend to show them, or are you just going to discuss things without showing the pictures? You had at one time you had a picture of the embassy displayed before you started talking, but you're
Commissioner
not.
Kumar,
Yeah.
Commissioner Kumar, I think that was just the cover page.
Okay.
There are more renderings than
Oh.
that'll give you a
Oh,
better
yes,
view of the
yes.
project
Oh,
or
okay,
proposed
right.
designs.
There is cover page. We're getting there. Yes, we're
Okay.
getting there. Right.
Okay. I'm just wondering if you're going to show that to people, because your
Yes.
discussion would be more meaningful if people can see that.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Right. And also we introduced the warm tone material that reference more like a desert sand and connect to Saudi architectural precedents, which is pretty important. So and also we introduce incorporate the shading element using these triangular geometric patterns, and also integrate both performance and identity together in more like a cohesive ways across the project. So there are 6 key elements, design element within the project scope that are visible from public realms, which we want to discuss, present. So this include the west entrance for the visitors, and also east entrance for the staff, and also outdoor, several outdoor space that supposed to support the interior of the building programs, and both sides. And also this scope also include the delivery vehicular access control building at the northeast corner. And also we have step and vehicle access control facility at the southeast corners, which is part of the scope. And I mean, it's just showing as a we're showing the floor plan as showing as an example. You see the red dashed line in the drawing. It's identify the areas included within the project scope. For example, the older window will be replaced and the entrance will be replaced. Part of the scope. So we had, I mean, you see the before and afters comparisons between the proposed design upper images, and also we have the raw images show the existing conditions. So we'll walk you through the proposed design in more detail in following slide. This is, to show the overall pictures, comparison between our proposed design and existing conditions. And this is from the east, and this is from the north.
I'm sorry, we can't see the slides. Do you think we're seeing the slides?
I'm
I can see
sharing.
them.
I'm seeing the slides.
I'm not. Is anybody else seeing
I'm
the
seeing the
slides?
slide.
You
I can
are?
see the slides, Commissioner Comer.
I
Okay.
see the slides.
Okay, I've seen them before, so go ahead then. I'm glad everybody's seeing the slides. Because I'm seeing you in the speaker. And so
Yeah.
I want to just make sure, everybody's seeing them. Go ahead.
Okay. And also this is elevation from south. Okay, so in this view from the west, New Hampshire Avenue. So there are three key design elements you can see. The first, the main entrance is reinforced with a full building height contour expression in the middle, and with a subtle angle form, which create a more welcoming and dignified arrival. And also second, the facade the incorporate the repeating the triangular the geometry shading elements that align with the building's vertical rhythms on top of every single window base that you see. And third, so security element such as fencings introduced per the Saudi the Minister of Foreign Affairs request, and those are designed to minimize visual impact. And you can see the overall geometry of the entrance glass wall, which is very consistent with the geometry of the sunscreen at the window base, as you see, and which create a very coherent and also unified design across the entire facade. And this is the other side. This is counterpart of the west, and so for east entrance, this new glass wall is sort of oriented toward to align with the relocated drop-off to improve overall circulation and functionality. And as I mentioned before, so we use this triangle the geometries as a design DNA and across the design, and so the design triangular this geometry is carried throughout the project, both as a volume, also as a patterns inside and outside, which created help to create a very consistent and cohesive design language across the project, as I mentioned before. And this is view from 25th Avenue's aerial view, and you can see additional supporting building, which does include the vehicular access the facilities. And then just we wanted to make sure that we maintain the existing material palette for the proposed design rather than introducing completely new material. And nighttime, we also planning to incorporate facade lighting to reinforce the design, which will highlight the hierarchical order of the original mid-century modern buildings and also express Saudi identity at night in a very subtle and refined ways. And my colleague Kara is
Sure. Thanks, Yuntek, and thank you all for your time today. I know we're running over, so I will be kind of quick on the landscape architecture and site features. As you can see, all of our improvements are within the footprint of the site, the property line. Everything else outside of that is public open space, right of way, public sidewalk. And so you can see that New Hampshire Avenue side of the site at the south, page south. Those stairs will be renovated. They are in the public space, but the reason we are doing this is to improve the accessibility, and we're including a wheelchair lift in that area. We are, thank you, looking at the site circulation. Circulation has not changed in terms of where vehicles are coming into the site and where people are coming into the site. Okay, next slide. Since this is an embassy, the client, of course, security is very important. And so we will be installing a perimeter anti-climb fence. It is a modified fence from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs standard fence. As you can see, it has granite clad posts and steel rails and pickets. Next slide. And so you can see here where that fence will be located. It is quite a bit back from the public realm on New Hampshire Avenue and F Street. And then 25th Street is probably where you would see the fence most prominently. Okay, next slide. Some of the changes we're making, we're adding permeable pavers. We're improving the let's see, the materials. So while we do have some asphalt, we're adding some granite. We're adding an oval drop-off area. And of course, you can see the two open spaces that we're adding, a garden terrace and a balcony. Of course, there are a lot of beautiful trees on this site, very large heritage trees, which we have engaged urban forestry on a site visit already. They have reviewed it with us, and we are working with an arborist to implement mitigation measures for the project. Just a basic vegetated strategy for the site. And the next slide is we are looking to, of course, we are abiding by GAR and looking to add vegetation.
This is This is Chair Patel. I am really requesting that you accelerate your presentation. We are starting to run well over time.
That's the last slide.
Yep.
That's the last slide. Thank you.
This is the last slide. Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Malik, I see your hand is raised.
Thank you. So correct me if I'm misunderstanding this or mishearing this. The stairs on the New Hampshire side are in public space. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so how is security handled for stairs leading up to an embassy where the stairs would be in public space, presumably, obviously not behind any fence or anything? What does that look like from a practical standpoint? And I ask this in the context of what happens if people are protesting on those steps, as one example? What happens if there are what happens if there's an unhoused individual camped out on a public step? Who deals with that?
So thanks for the question, Commissioner Malik. So the public stairs, as they are existing, are in the same location as they are today. The only modification we're making, we're reconstructing them for a couple of reasons. So they're brought up to code. This was constructed back in 1957. Like Kara had mentioned, we're adding the accessible wheelchair lift there. On the plans where we're showing the fence, and you can kind of see it here in this rendering here, the fence, is set back from public space and returns to the face of the building. This entrance here is an improved and hardened glass wall or fenestration, so it can withstand just like any other embassy, attack or any type of vandalism. The ministry or the kingdom does have a 24-hour guard and staff that
Right. I'm
maintains
sorry.
the security.
I apologize for interrupting you, but I just want to clarify. I'm asking from the perspective of the protection of the people who might be on those steps, not from the perspective of the protection of the embassy. So if there's like, who's responsible for dealing with that? If there's a protest on those steps, so what happens? Like, who deals with that? Does embassy security come out to those steps? Does the embassy call MPD if that's not a permitted protest? I guess MPD would have jurisdiction over that. That's what I'm concerned about here. That seems like a potentially combustible situation.
Apologies, sorry, misunderstood your question. Yes, that would be something that would be a relationship that the embassy does have with MPD, since that does happen in public space.
Okay.
Any further questions or comments from colleagues before I turn to members of the public? If you're a member of the public and you have a question about this presentation for our presenters or Commissioner Comer, please raise your hand. Hi, Judith, you've been promoted.
Okay, thank you. I'm a resident of Watergate East and I'm president of the board of Watergate East. This isn't a comment solely about the embassy, but I simply wanted to point out with regard to the entire Watergate complex that at the moment we're contemplating 3 renovations that may overlap: the Kennedy Center, the Saudi embassy, and 2600. And just we need to be mindful of that with regard to congestion, parking, noise, etc. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions or comments from members of the public? All right, seeing no further questions or comments from members of the public, seeing no further questions or comments from colleagues. Before I yield back to Commissioner Comer, Mr. Stokes, what are you looking for from ANC 2A?
So we will need a letter of support. I know that this is a preliminary meeting. Once we have the formal comments from CFA, we will share those with Commissioner Comer and for the rest of the commission to review. We do need a letter of support from the ANC for this project to go forward with permit.
And the letter of support needs to be sent to the zoning commission, is that correct?
It does need to be sent to the zoning commission. We do have a separate package that we are sending to them. My understanding that it should be addressed to DCDOB.
So it's going to zoning commission and then you're going also to the Department of Buildings?
Yes, we have several agencies that we have to go through before we submit for DOB.
So, Mr. Stokes, how many, I mean, are you going to have to appear before ANC 2A multiple times?
Just because of the timing, we are waiting for our comments from CFA. Once we have those, we'll share them with you. And if there's any if we have to meet again next month, we're happy to come back and be on the agenda to review, debrief any of their comments and notes. At that point, we would request letter of support from the commission.
All right. I just would have advised you, Mr. Stokes, it would have been just more convenient and just time-wise for all parties involved if you would have come next month, so we wouldn't have to wait for another agency's comments to give you the letter of support, and just giving you that as a friendly piece of advice. But however, this is in Commissioner Comer's SMD, so I'm gonna yield back to him and see what he would like to do.
Thank you. I am aware that there were several places that where there are approvals needed. I thought it was important to get the presentation out to the public early so they have a chance to look at it and think about it and see if they have questions. And I am looking into the question. I know that you all would like to have a letter of support from us. I am looking into seeing whether it is required or not. In some cases, if we say nothing, that if that will not hinder you, that may be an option we'll look at. But Chair Patel, I'm still looking into that possibility as well. Okay.
Okay, no, thank you for your clarification on the matter. All right, so on that note, Commissioner Comer, since you said you want to have more time to explore this, we'll go ahead and revisit this at a future date. Is that
Yeah.
sound amenable to you? Okay.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and I'll keep the commission informed of the timing and when we need to act, if we need to act. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Comer.
Thank
All
you.
right. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is matters before the Alcohol Beverage and Cannabis Administration. I was not trying to skip your item, Commissioner Comer. The first item under this topic is Proper 21, which is under Commissioner Malik's SMD.
Thank you very much. I believe we have Dan Kaufman, if I'm saying the name right, with us tonight, and I believe that Mr. Kaufman is counsel for the applicant. Looks like he has his hand up, so if we could go ahead and promote him. And if you could go ahead and introduce yourself, introduce this application, and especially explain to the commission, the details of what is being requested, because I think this is a little bit different than anything we've dealt with in recent memory.
Sure. Thank you, commissioners, and I'll be extremely brief. Proper 21, currently licensed as a Class C restaurant, is requesting a class change to a Class C tavern. This is in APCA's mind termed a substantial change, and that's why we're here tonight. We're not requesting any changes to anything else related to the license. The hours would remain the same. The endorsements would remain the same. Operationally, we plan on remaining the same. This would allow us to avoid having to file quarterly food sales reports, which is the main reason we're making this request. And that's basically it. I'm going to respect everyone's time and open it up for questions if you have any.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that brevity. So, we had some back and forth on this. You stated that to the best of your knowledge, the establishment was currently meeting the food sales requirements to continue operating as a Class R. Is that still correct to the best of your knowledge?
Correct.
Okay. So I think with that in mind, I'm sort of struggling a little bit to understand why it would be in the commission's interest to support this application, because if the establishment is currently operating as a restaurant under the law and has no intention of changing its operations, wouldn't we essentially be supporting it in operating in the wrong regulatory class? Or I guess my question here would be like, is it even legal for a business that's supposed to be operating as a Class R to reclassify itself as something else explicitly to avoid the regulatory burden associated with its actual operations?
I can take that. There's nothing precluding a business that sells food from operating as a tavern. There's many businesses throughout the district that are effectively restaurants that have tavern licenses throughout the city. And so a business that's a food establishment can operate under multiple types of licenses. The main difference between tavern licenses and restaurant licenses is the restaurant licenses must meet that food sales requirement and have to provide reports at quarterly intervals to ABCA, but nothing's preventing a restaurant from having a tavern license.
Okay, so if we voted to support this application and it was granted, would it be possible that the operators could decide to change something in terms of their hours, in terms of their offerings, that would not be currently permitted under the Class R license without having to come back to the ANC or to the other regulatory agencies involved in this?
We could not make any change to hours without it being termed a substantial change, at least any significant change in hours. We'd have to do that anyways, regardless of class type. And not positive what you mean by offerings, but we are able, a Class C restaurant is able to change its concept without coming before the ANC again, and they can do that as long as they're operating in conjunction with their license. And so there are very few key differences between the two license types besides the food requirement.
So if we were to support this and then it was approved, could the proprietor just stop serving food and transition to solely a bar? And I know that you're verbally saying that that's not their intention, and I respect that. But without something codified in language, could we be here a year from now where they just say, okay, well, we want to end food service, and now Proper 21 on K is just a tavern? That would be theoretically possible.
Yes, that's a fair question. And the simple answer to that is yes, that they could potentially do that.
Okay, I'm going to defer to my colleague, Commissioner Gifford, who I see has his hand up, and then I may want to come back for additional questions or comments.
Well, first of all, I was having problems with my audio. Can anyone hear me? Yes. And Commissioner Malik effectively asked and answered, I think, my question. And my understanding is the tavern license essentially allows flexibility to have little to a very kind of de minimis amount of food if desired. And so that requirement of at least the 40 or 45% of food sales would no longer be there. There'd be greater flexibility should the premises want to operate something as something closer to a bar in the future. My understanding. That's correct.
Okay.
Commissioner Alec?
Yeah.
I actually would like to ask some questions as well. Okay, Mr. Kaufman, thank you for being here. So, I actually worked at an establishment that had a tavern's license. So I do know when you have a tavern's license that minors cannot be in your establishment after 9 p.m. Is that correct?
I don't believe that is a statutory requirement. There could be specific restrictions on certain tavern licenses, but I'm not aware of that license class wise.
Okay, because I mean, you could be right, but I do know that a tavern license is pretty strict in that regard. Because I worked at an establishment where we couldn't have anyone below the age of 18 after 9 o'clock unless a buyout was done or if they were in a secured area. Now, while I don't see Proper 21 as a destination for, families with young children who want to dine there after 9 p.m. But that does, number one, like prohibit them from, having certain clientele in there should they transition to a tavern license, number one. But number two, should you decide to transition to a tavern license, what security protocols will you be putting in there? Because again, under the assumption that a tavern license, that no one under the age of 18 can be in there after 9 p.m., you are located very close to a college campus. So how will you mitigate underage people in your establishment, number one? And number two, what protocols are going to be put in place to make sure that should someone underage be in the establishment, that they are not consuming things that they shouldn't be unless they're of the age of 21?
I appreciate the question. Again, there are no planned operational changes here. And so the protocols used to prevent underage drinking, et cetera, will continue to be the same ones that have been used to date for the last 5.5 years since Proper 21 has been open. And again, I appreciate the questions about instances of people not being allowed after 9 p.m., et cetera, but I'm not aware of any statutory requirement that requires that. Again, there's, in our knowledge, very little differences between taverns and restaurants. I know in practice, that they can differ greatly, but there's plenty of restaurants that are effectively nightclubs, and there's taverns that are effectively restaurants, and there's a lot of gray area there.
Okay. Thank you for your responses, Mr. Kaufman. I have no further
No problem.
questions.
Okay, so I'm not sure how practical this would even be. And I'm going to ask from the perspective of do you think this would even be permissible under the law to draft some kind of language in a settlement agreement that effectively says that the operations of this establishment won't change, or maybe to phrase that a better way, that the establishment would continue operating at that minimum food service level equivalent with a Class R license?
Appreciate the question. There's certain types of provisions that are unenforceable. That one may delve into that. I don't know what Abca's position would be. I will say, from our perspective, is having that type of language would sort of defeat the purpose, because if there were hurdles to have to meet in order to not defy either APCA code or the settlement agreement related to food sales, then that kind of defeats the purpose of the request in the first place.
Except that you're representing that they don't intend to change their food service levels. So from an operational standpoint, it wouldn't actually change anything. Maybe from a bureaucracy standpoint or paperwork standpoint, I would get that. You know, I'm struggling on this one a little bit, and I would be open to hearing an argument about from yourself or from my colleagues or from the public why we would, as the commission tasked with representing our constituents, why we would want to support this request. So if anyone has any thoughts on that, or go ahead if you do.
I mean, I guess regardless of whether or not they intend to change their operations, I guess I don't fully understand like why that's something we need to be concerned about in the first place.
I think it's a valid it's a valid question, Commissioner. You know, there certainly have been commissioners who have argued that we, as an institution, that ANCs as an institution practice too much micromanagement or oversight over this type of thing. I look at this as sort of one of the core aspects of what we are elected to do. Like, we don't have a lot of oversight, but this is one of the most direct ways that we are tasked with ensuring that our constituents' interests are protected. And in this case, we had an establishment come before us, presumably make a presentation at some point in the past, outlining what their operations were going to be and asking us for our support in that application. Now we're being given an application that would essentially allow them to do a 180 pivot from what was previously approved to something different if they chose to do that down the line. And I think that it is worth our time in thinking about, okay, well, what would that mean? Because it's not what we initially, or it's not what this commission or the previous commission initially approved. So from a philosophical standpoint, like, I hear you. And I'm not closing the door to supporting this. But I would like to hear an argument, a positive argument as to why we should do it, I guess.
Commissioner Malik, it's Chair Patel. I will just state and be brief. While you are the lead on this, I'm not going to vote in support of the transition of this license. But however you choose to proceed is up to you. But I just want to not drag this out and just let you know that I'm not going to be a supporter of this. That's it.
Commissioners, may I say something?
Mr. Kaufman, if you just pause one moment, because Commissioner Gifford has raised his hand, but then I will yield the floor back to you. Go ahead, Mr. Gifford. I mean, Commissioner Gifford.
Thank you, Chair Patel. Mr. Kaufman, is it accurate? I believe it's accurate that the tavern license also allows for dance floors and things of that nature without any kind of separate approval from DC government. It kind of is part and parcel with that, which is kind of more in standing with something you might expect with a kind of a full scale bar. Does Proper 21 have any plans? I'm familiar with that facility, that property. I know that there's a portion of it, kind of at a lower level there, that is kind of independent. Are there any plans for anything connected with a dance floor and music and bands and those kinds of things in the future, should this license be attained?
No, Commissioner, there's no plans to change its operations at all. I will note Proper 21 already has an entertainment endorsement, so it can provide live entertainment. And again, we're not planning on changing anything that's offered currently, but just want to highlight that again, that we do already have that endorsement. And I did want to note, we've been in operation for more than 5 years. I'm not aware of any issues that the ANC's had with the establishment in that time. And it's an establishment that opened during 2020, possibly the worst time to open, has been able to somehow manage that. And so this is a request that it's asking for to help, manage its way to keep operating. And I'll yield it over to any other questions.
So, Mr. Kaufman, Sheriff Patel, I think you need to understand. I think my audio is coming choppy.
Can you hear me
Can you hear
better
me
here? Okay, I think you can hear me better on my cell phone audio. I think you need to understand that the area that Proper 21 is located in is not too far away from a vicinity many years ago that was called the Shadow Room. And ANC 2A had a long and acrimonious history of the establishment that is the Shadow Room. ANC has had several different establishments where the proprietors would come before us and say XYZ, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, and that has not been the case. I think one popular bar got shut down. I can't even remember the name of it, but there was acts of violence committed in it, so that's why that establishment closed. And Mr. Kaufman, I just got to be very honest with you, and I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking on behalf of any other of the commissioners or on behalf of the commission when I say this. Your responses are not inspiring any sense of confidence in me, which is the reason why I am going to be voting no. So I just want to put that out there. But once again, I'll let Commissioner Malik, state his thoughts and how he wants to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I as I said earlier, I am sympathetic to the point that Commissioner Youngstone made. I do think in some instances, commissions can be too micromanaging in situations such as this. I know that my constituents do want to see thriving restaurants and bars in our SMD and in our ANC. So I also understand the value of having the business here. That said, I'm inclined to not offer any action on this, but I want to make sure that my colleagues understand, and especially we have a couple of new commissioners, that we could, as a commission, vote to protest this application, and then depending on how amicable council is to this, we could try to work out a settlement agreement. We could discuss what kinds of things would be enforceable versus non-enforceable after the fact. That would give us the ability to negotiate something. But I think that's where I stand on this. I think I would probably take no action, but feel free to weigh in.
Commissioner Comer, I see your hand is raised. Did you want to make a comment?
Yes. I agree with taking no action. I don't see a strong argument for us to be supportive. On the one hand, I don't want to micromanage how the business runs. I think we have no need to put our great weight for or against and let APCA decide, if this is sufficient justification to change the license. I don't want to harm Proper 21, but I don't want to micromanage it. So let's just let them take their chances in front of APCA.
Okay. Colleagues, may I propose this? But again, this is Commissioner Malik's SMD, so he gets to make the final call. I recommend that we protest on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet, only to give Commissioner Malik the opportunity, should he decide that he wants to pursue a settlement agreement on this matter. But that's only if he wants to do that. I'll leave that up to him.
I think this is popcorning back to me. I'm not asking for that. I think my preference here would be to take no action, but I do just want to make sure my colleagues understand you all can make a motion. If somebody feels strongly that we should vote to protest this, you have that right to move. I don't know that I would support that, but that's your right.
Commissioner Malik, I would prefer that we do vote on this, even if it's a loss. I would prefer to be on record with my thoughts on this. Commissioner Malik.
Well, I mean,
we
we don't have a motion on the table right now, so anyone is free to make a motion. I think that I am not going to offer one, but anyone is free to do that.
Okay. Well, before I can do that, let me see if there's any questions or comments from members of the public on it before. But I'll make the motion. But since we've already had our discussion, so I'm gonna move that we protest this. I'm calling for a second.
What does move to protest? Educate the new member here what that means.
Okay, so the ANC has two positions it can take. It can take one of no action, where the ANC stays silent on the matter before APCA. A lot of ANC commissions vote to protest sometimes on new licenses or renewals. In the case where the SMD commissioner wants to do or broker a settlement agreement to protect constituents' interests and rights.
What's the basis for the protest?
You can do it on peace, order, and quiet. And the ANC can always withdraw at a later date.
But we don't have any basis for peace, order, or quiet.
No, the ANC automatically, it's an understood right, peace, order, and quiet.
But they haven't proposed anything that realistically threatens peace, order, or quiet.
Commissioner Comer, it's just one of the tools that an ANC commission can do to preserve its voice in the process.
Sorry, just to clarify, you're recommending that we protest on the basis it will impact peace, order, and quiet, while fully recognizing that you don't believe it will do that.
Yes, I know it sounds very comical, but it is something that ANC commissions have used to preserve the right of the voice of constituents. I'm just putting it on the table. It makes no difference to me.
Well,
I just want to be recorded. I just want to be recorded as a no.
Do you have a second?
No one has seconded it as of yet. I thought Commissioner Dolan was going to second it, but I don't think he was.
I'm getting educated continuously tonight. I was prepared to vote no against a motion. I understand the points being made in terms of this motion to protest. Either we approve it or we don't approve it.
If the motion fails to protest on peace, order, and quiet, it's fine. That it just means the ANC doesn't take an action.
Well, given that you don't have a second, I'd like to make a contrary motion that just says we take no action in this matter. Can I get a second for that?
Do we need a motion to take no action?
You don't need a motion to take no
Commissioner
action.
Malik, you're muted.
I'm sorry, my point of order was the same point of order that I think was raised by someone else, and that we don't need a motion to take no action because we can simply take no action. I mean, we could do that if we wanted to. I mean, we can adopt any resolution we want. We can adopt a resolution that says we take no action and send that to the regulatory agency. And I guess since we were asked to weigh in on this, that resolution would have our great weight, but that's sort of taking action. So when I say take action, no action, I mean, we don't have to do anything. We can just
My
end
motion is just to finalize this discussion, which is just absurd, and just sort of say, let's move on and agree that we're done and we're not going to do anything.
Well,
including not sending something to ABCA that says we're not going to do anything.
I would request then, maybe Commissioner Comer, if you'd be so kind as to withdraw your motion, and then I would ask to call the question. Well, there is no question, actually. There's nothing to call. We don't have to do anything. We can just be done talking about this.
So let's move on. If there are no
Okay,
motions.
well, Commissioner Gifford does have his hand raised. And I
Yes,
also
and
still have to take next questions from
clarifying.
members of the public too.
I just have a clarifying point and question in my own mind that I think may help me here. If I understand Chair Patel's point, and I think it's a fair point about using the protest mechanism to kind of have leverage over operations, and a reluctance perhaps to let that go past and then get in a situation where Proper 21K becomes a bad actor over the next year and does all kinds of things. I just want to clarify, if that were to happen a year from now, would not that license be up for renewal, and would not this commission have an opportunity to do something about it at that moment in time? I think in a few minutes we've got another license renewal that is before us. So we have would we have an opportunity if things got really bad over the next year to weigh in on this in the future in some kind of meaningful way, or is this our only window of opportunity forever and ever more?
Mr. Commissioner Gifford, that's a fair question. So this particular item is not a renewal. It's a change in the nature of the license of substance. And so this is number one, that change.
Yes.
This is the only time we'll get to weigh in on it. And then it goes into a renewal process. And renewals
correct, but if Chair Patel, if it went into a renewal process and we had concerns about the behavior of the licensed property, do we have some kind of recourse at that time if they had become a bad actor with this reclassified license? And I'm really just trying to understand our mechanism here.
Right. Hence the reason why I put forward the idea of we put in a protest based on peace, order, and quiet. Just if Commissioner Malik wants to pursue something. Now, he's indicated that he doesn't seem to want to do that, which is fine. But APCA will then look at the record and then say, well, ANC 2A took no action. They didn't say anything.
Okay.
And
but it sounds to me that we have an ability in the future to protest the renewal, and that was my clarifying point. Thank you.
That will be 2 years from now.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Seeing no further questions or comments from colleagues, if you're a member of the public and you have a question or comment, please raise your hand and we'll promote you to panelist. All right, seeing none, the question is going to be called.
What question?
So Commissioner Alec, how did you want to move forward on this?
As I've stated, my preference is to take no action. There's no motion on the floor. I believe every motion on the floor was withdrawn.
Okay, I just want to make sure, that's all. All right.
Question, hands up, hands up. We've had a long discussion, May.
Sure, Commissioner Dolan.
We had a long discussion on this, and it sounds like there's other iterations possibly to pursue. Would there be any benefit to tabling this for 3 months?
I don't know when this liquor license is going before APTA.
I mean, that would send the signal that you want to take more thought to think about this. And if they go in there with it having been tabled by the ANC, it's better than ANC. It may be better, more persuasive than if ANC just passes on this.
I might be wrong, but I think those are effectively the same thing.
Yeah.
May I be recognized?
Commissioner Malik, yes, you're recognized.
The protest petition deadline is June 15th. So, we have to decide if we want to take action or not on this right now. I do not feel compelled to support this for the reasons that I've outlined. I also value having businesses like this in the district, and I think my constituents value that. So as Commissioner Comer so eloquently stated, I think that we should, allow regulatory agencies at a higher pay grade than us to determine whether or not this makes sense as opposed to trying to micromanage this. But if anyone else feels strongly about a motion to support, a motion to oppose, a motion to protest, that is your right. I am not going to bring forward any motion, though.
Okay, seeing no further motions on the floor, and Commissioner Malik has stated that he does not want to take no action. If no one else feels strongly, no one else from the public has raised their hands after I've called for it, we'll just go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. This is Flavors of India / Marshall's Bar, which happens to be in my SMD. Their license is up for renewal. I feel no need to take any action against this establishment. They've been a longstanding establishment in SMD 2A03. For the most part, I've heard no pushback or had any complaints about this establishment. So I'm just fine with it, with the ANC being silent on this matter. Commissioner Gifford?
I concur with the chair's assessment.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments about this from members of the public? We'll go ahead and take them before we move on to the next agenda item. Okay, seeing no further questions or comments, moving on to the next section. This is matters before Historic Preservation Board. The property is located in my single member district. If you are here, please raise your hand and we'll go ahead and promote you as a panelist. Hi, Bassam, you are promoted. You just have to take yourself off mute. And if you have your presentation to share, that would be great.
Yes, hello, can you hear me? Well, my name is Bassam. I'm here, Councilman, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking my presentation. Basically, I am looking in at having a request to recess the front door of my house and add an archway on top of it. The majority of the houses in this neighborhood have historic, archways. That particular house, along with all of the houses on that same row, have arched entrances. The majority of them have recess. The house looks a bit awkward, having a flush door straight on the street. You go up about 6 steps, and immediately the door is right in front of you. Um, I'm requesting that in front of historic, and I'm seeking your support for this change. In here, I put in few photos of the existing houses in the neighborhood. I don't know if you could see my screen, right?
Yes,
You could see the screen changing, right?
yes.
Yes, we can
Okay.
see it. Thank you.
I would
These are the
suggest you
houses.
go to your slide 11 of 12, sir.
I am in slide number 8.
Yeah, I would suggest you go to slide 11,
Oh, go to
just in the
slide
interest of
11.
time. It's the
Yes,
slide I found most helpful in reviewing your
yes. So
information.
this is the existing and this is the proposed. Um, I think this will improve the neighborhood. It makes it look better. I think it will just improve the overall look of that particular street. Now, I've acquired a permit from the Department of Building for tuck pointing the wall on that alleyway. We fixed that wall. It looks much nicer right now. It's all brick. And I'm doing actually some renovation inside the house and to the back of the house that will make it look much nicer. Yeah, that basically concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bassam. I have no issues with this. I have passed in front of this property pretty much almost every day, every other day. I don't see anything he's asking for as controversial, so I'm happy to support this. I will just call for a second. So if there are any questions or comments from colleagues on this.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Clement? Commissioner Clement,
Commissioner Gifford seconds.
Oh, Commissioner Gifford seconds. Okay, it's been moved by Chair Patel, seconded by Commissioner Gifford. Commissioner Comer, did you have a question? I saw you raise your hand.
Oh, I was going to second as well, but I'm fine. I'm
Okay,
supportive of this too.
any questions or comments from colleagues before I turn to members of the public on this? Okay, seeing no questions or comments from colleagues, if you're a member of the public, you have a comment, we'll go ahead and promote you. Hi, Frank, you've been promoted.
Hi, this is Frank Leon, Foggy Bottom Association History Project, but speaking for myself, I appreciate the work that's being done on the house, both in the side and the back. I do note that this request for the doorway was submitted to the Historic Preservation Office. The Historic Preservation Office staff recommended against approval because it's inconsistent with the door repair and replacement preservation guidelines that govern historic districts. And the staff also suggested that if the applicant seeks a vestibule, they can have an interior door. This was on the agenda for the April 23rd, 2026 meeting, but then it was withdrawn. So I guess, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask a question of the applicant, but the question would be, has he changed his proposal in response to the staff's comments? And secondly, just my general concern that this ANC repeatedly looks at requests from constituents without considering what the Historic Preservation Office has said about those. And I think, there's a reason why we have an HPO, and you're not bound by, you have your own way of making decisions, but it constantly seems that you're not even aware of the HPO decisions, which I think is inappropriate. So my question, if I can ask it, is the applicant going forward with the same request that the HPO staff has recommended against, or has he made changes that might make him more acceptable to the Historic Preservation Review Board? Thank you.
Yes, I'm still scheduled on the 28th review for the historic board. No, I haven't ruled out to put in a second door on the inside. I think it's counterintuitive to have a second door. Now, I'm coming in from the point is that the majority of the houses on that street, and specifically these houses, were constructed with arches and a slight recess. And I believe that restoring the house to its original or as close as it could be to the era prior to the 1970s, prior to that facade, collapsed during the metro renovation, it would just make it look much nicer. If there's objection to that from historic and you think that it will not improve the neighborhood, then I will withdraw my request.
Commissioner Malik, I'm going to recognize you.
Thank you. So, I mean, it seems like there is objection from HPO. It sounds like the staff report specifically objected to this. I was wondering if you or the chairperson or if anyone would be able to tell us, what were the specific objections in that staff report? Like, what was it about the door that they said does not comply with the guidelines for door renovations?
Basami, I think you're going to have to respond to that
Oh,
question.
okay. I believe that what they've indicated in the report is that that door is not consistent with what historic deems that is acceptable.
But what does that
Um,
mean? What would be consistent?
I quite honestly don't understand. I mean, exactly, and that's why I am here in front of the panel requesting endorsement. I honestly do not understand why is it being rejected if it will make that house look um, uh, much similar to other houses in the neighborhood, which the majority of them do have arch entrances and recessed doors. Now, to note, that entire front facade of that house and the three other houses next to mine were demolished during the metro construction in the 1970s, and they were reconstructed with square doors. So there are photos in my presentation showing these houses prior to the 1970s, and they featured an arch and a slight recess.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, but Basam, I'm gonna be real honest. Even if, say, ANC 2A were to give you an endorsement, like the fact that HPO has already told you that you're not consistent would clash. Like our weight can be ignored in that situation. My recommendation to you is that I think you need to work with I think you need to work with the HPO as Frank Leone has suggested, and I think you need to get into compliance.
Yeah, I'll do that. I mean, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So since Bassam knows that he needs to work with it, at the moment we'll just take no action. Whenever he decides to refile, he'll come back before ANC 2A. All right, moving on. This is the last item on the agenda. This is matters before the DC Council. There are three items. The first one is a consideration of a resolution regarding pedestrian safety at 23rd and I Street. This is Vice Chairperson Dolan's resolution.
Thank you. We've heard about the incident at 23rd, the fatality at 23rd and L a couple times tonight, and I had heard from 80 plus constituents asking us to take certain actions. Those actions are codified in some of the whereas and therefore be resolved things detailed here. And hopefully, given the time we spent on it already tonight, it would be pretty straightforward. So I would ask for your support on this resolution.
So Commissioner Dolan, are you moving the item?
I will move the motion. I'm moving the item,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, is there a second to this item?
Second,
Who's the second? I didn't hear it.
Commissioner Gifford.
Copy. Okay, so it's moved by Commissioner Dolan, seconded by Commissioner Gifford. Are there any questions or comments from colleagues about this matter? Um, I do have a couple of questions or comments before I turn to members of the public. So Commissioner Dolan, I did read your resolution on the matter. You requested a TSI. Did you put in the TSI? Because the TSI is usually put in by constituents and or the ANC commissioner or commissioners.
Where are you? Where are we seeing the TSI? Sorry.
That was part of your, I think, therefore be it resolved. I mean, I looked at it when it was first done, unless it's changed considerably since you last showed it.
Can we pull up the document so I can see what you're talking about?
Yes, Edie Shellis, could you share the resolution, please?
Yes.
Oh, wait. Oh, it's this one.
You're talking about the traffic safety review?
Yeah, it's a TSI, traffic safety improvement.
Traffic safety review.
Okay,
I believe
so Commissioner Dolan, the official name for DDOT for that from DDOT is called a TSI. It's a traffic safety improvement, and that's what you would need to ask for, a traffic safety in like it's a TSI. I know that's what it's called. But usually that's put in by the constituents and or the commissioner. And then once you put in your TSI, you can track it and follow it.
okay, so the residents have they have written to us, and they've also, I'm aware that they've also written to our council member, and they've written to DDOT.
And I understand
Directly?
that, Commissioner Dolan, but just to preserve and protect the process and the voice of the constituents, you would have to put in a TSI. I mean, you can feel free to not do it, but I'm just telling you that's what I've had to go through and do in certain situations.
Are you saying that he should put it in lieu of the ANC approving this resolution?
No, I'm
Okay.
saying that you need the correct terminology is a TSI, but he has to be the one to put it in. Like if you want them to do an expedited traffic safety review, there needs to be something for us to point to, which
Okay.
is a TSI.
So if we approve the resolution and he puts in the TSI, everything's okay.
That's correct. That's the reason why I'm asking the question. Did he put in a TSI? Because that's the one thing that everybody's going to say. Did you put in a TSI?
So he could do that. We could submit the resolution.
Yes,
I'm asking.
I'm just trying to make sure that your resolution is effective, Vice Chairperson Dolan.
Okay, I would appreciate support on this resolution, which the constituents have asked for, and then I'll take your guidance on other steps that should be taken.
All right, and I see other people's hands raised. Commissioner Malik?
Yeah, I mean, it was my assumption that we were always going to do a TSI and then also just have this language codified in the resolution so that it was there on record that we were asking for this. Definitely, we do need to do the TSI. So appreciate the reminder on that. But I also think it's important for our constituents to be able to look at this and understand that that this has more visibility to them, to the average constituent. I want them to know that we are doing this and that this language is here and they can see this on our website. That we took this action because this issue it's really shaken up our community, and I feel like it's not for whatever reason, getting the attention from key stakeholders that I thought that it would, or that I think that it deserves. People are really disturbed by this. And especially, you know, we mentioned 23rd and L. We also mentioned 22nd and L in this resolution, which is on the border of my district. That's an even more dangerous intersection. It's kind of surprising that this happened at 23rd and L, because 22nd and L is, you know, every time I cross that, I feel like I'm almost going to get hit by a car. I'm surprised there hasn't been more accidents, for lack of a better term, which may not be, this may not be an accident by definition. Anyway, point being, our constituents want to see that we're taking action on this. And so this has never been in lieu of a TSI. They expect us to do something. So appreciate the guidance there, but I just wanted to clarify that at least from my perspective, since my name is on this, yeah, that was of course obviously always a part of it. We are obviously going to use whatever levers are available to us to get our city government to take the action that they need to take to keep pedestrians in our community safe.
Okay. No, I hear you, gentlemen. I'm not against it. I'm just trying to make sure that the work you're putting forward gets the results that you want. Because I want your resolution to have teeth. These are all friendly recommendations. You can feel free to ignore them or not take them under advisement. You know, has a walkthrough been coordinated with MPD, DDOT, and the mayor's team and the councilwoman? That's one way to make sure that it's getting the attention that it needs. You know, I can tell you, Councilmember Charles Allen, who is the chair of the Committee of Transportation and Environment, takes these things very seriously. These are the questions that their team is going to ask. Have you done a walkthrough with XYZ? These are the same things that people who work in the agencies, such as DDOT, traffic review, all of these are the questions they're going to ask you. My recommendation and suggestion is create the TSI. You have 80 people who are shaken up, 80 residents. Have all of them literally submit a TSI. That is one of the reasons why former ANC Commissioner Aaron Palmer started Sidewalk Palooza, to sit here and literally shake DDOT into fixing the sidewalks. This is an important matter. I want this to get fixed. I feel like anyone who, I mean, I walk everywhere. I want to be able to know that I can walk from point A to point B safely and not worry about getting run over, literally. And so that's all I just wanted to say, just my friendly 2 cents. You know, at the end of the day, however you want to present this resolution is up to the both of you, but just wanted to put that out there.
Present the resolution as is. It's been shared with the commissioners for the last week. I appreciate the comments. We will take your comments to heart, but this is the resolution that the residents have seen and that they want us to move forward on.
Okay. Seeing no further questions or comments from colleagues on the matter, if you're a member of the public and you have a question or comment on this, please raise your hand and we will go ahead and promote you. Okay, seeing no further questions or comments on this from members of the public, seeing no further questions or comments on this from colleagues, we'll go ahead and call the question. We'll go ahead and take this by division of the House, starting in numerical order.
Commissioner Gifford votes yes.
Patel is a yes.
Comer is a yes.
Dolan is a yes.
Malik is a yes, but point of order, do we have a second of record?
It was me, Commissioner
Yes.
Malik.
Thank you.
Yes, there was a second of record.
Commissioner Youngstown also votes yes.
All right, so the matter passes with unanimous consent. The next item up on matters before the DC Council, this is a consideration of a resolution regarding WMATA's budget oversight performance. Edie Shellis, if you could go ahead and share the resolution. I want to caveat that I am not the original author of this resolution. The bulk of this resolution was written by Chairperson Joe Bishop Hensman of Ward 5, he sent an all ANC email sharing his concerns or development. Basically, in the budget for WMATA, there was $6 million worth of savings discovered, and the $6 million was going to be allocated to improving the better bus network design. And the reason why I have put this resolution forward is several of these improvements are here in Ward 2, and it actually impact directly ANC 2A. And so if you go down to like the changes, ED Shellis, so that people could see this. And so for the one that greatly impacts us the most, I'm forgetting which one it is. It's the D70. The D70 with the $6 million would add overnight service. And the buses would run every 20 minutes. The D74, which is the next one, also adds overnight service, runs every 20 minutes. And the reason why these two bus lines I'm amplifying very hard is we have a university and we have a hospital, which is 24 hours. ANC2A has acknowledged and for years advocated that getting to and from the hospital must be a priority of accessibility as much as possible. And the fact that if we have a bus service that can service like family members of patients, students, as well as employees of the hospital and the university, so that they can always get to and from these points of interest without it becoming an economic burden, I thought was very, very important. I do know from my conversations that I've had with Councilmember Allen's team, they are taking this very, very seriously. At the WMATA meeting that they have separately, a board member stripped out the money at saying that it was at the request of the mayor, and the other board member, Tracy Lowe, opposed it, and and on her own went to the DC Council and stated, so the $6 million is still in the budget. It's still earmarked to get, for WMATA, but I know since the vote, it could be stripped out. And I just wanted to, as ANC2A, and with these bus lines impacting ANC2A directly, I thought it was important that we state to the council that the 6 million be kept. And this is, while these two bus lines specifically impact ANC2A, I've listed all the bus lines here in Ward 2. Several ANCs around the city have taken Commissioner Bishop Henchman's resolution. They have tailored it to their own ANCs. Again, Chair Bishop Henchman was kind enough to share his resolution, and he's fully aware that I have modified it to be reflective of ANC2A. So I am moving the matter. I am calling for a second of record so we can start the discussion. Commissioner Comer, I see your hand raised. Are you going to be the second of record to start the discussion?
Yes, and I have a question.
Absolutely. So it's been moved by Chair Patel. It's been seconded by Commissioner Comer, and Commissioner Comer, I recognize you.
Okay. My question is on these weekend service, evening services, weekend service, overnight service. They say add weekend service every 15 minutes for the first one. The D70, add overnight service all nights every 20 minutes. Do we know, is there service that happens on these lines that and how much time currently is there between the buses at night and on weekends?
No, that's a fair question. So as of right now, none of these bus lines do overnight service. So where it says the proposed changes, That's
Okay.
where it would, yeah. So that would be what it would be with the 6 million. It would be able to do that. We don't have that currently.
So there is no overnight service down Connecticut Avenue or to Adams, Morgan, Columbia Heights from here?
That's correct, as of right now.
Well, then I'm definitely supportive of it.
Okay, and Commissioner Dolan.
I was going to answer the first question I think you raised. There is service from 6 a.m. till 2 a.m. and it runs every 30 minutes after 9 p.m. So this is to bridge the 4-hour gap and
That's
to run
correct.
it to take it from 30 minutes to 20 minutes.
Okay.
That's correct. So this is to improve.
That's important.
Yeah, so it's to improve and to extend the service. So that's what WMATA was going to do with the $6 million they found in their own budget to do to improve, because when the Better Bus Network redesign happened, one of the things, and it has been an echo and a call, that a lot of the bus services need to be improved in its time management, because currently a lot of buses you may have to wait 20 minutes or 30 minutes even at peak time. I think they're a little better, but outside of peak time the service gaps get longer. And so unfortunately, during COVID, we were one of the ANCs that fought, and we defended it. We defended the circulator. We prevented those budget cuts. And when the circulator disappeared, a lot of these gaps really appeared. And so when WMATA got the additional funding, while the circulator wasn't 24 hours, it met some of those time gaps and was able to run more efficiently and effectively. And so WMATA was like, hey, we have the money. And so now it's able to improve the entire bus network and expanding a lot more lines to be 24 hours. As of right now, I think there's a set number of lines. And apologize, I can't remember all of the lines, but they're mainly hit like the downtown corridor. Like it's like, I think a specific 4 to 6 lines that are protected in the budget. Like this was the big budget fight about 2-3 years ago. ANC 2A also opined on that to be supportive. Chairman Mendelson, that was a big priority for Chairman Mendelson and Councilmember Charles Allen. I know Charles Allen's team is trying to make sure that this is going to be try to be preserved. I know they're still working on their budget committee markup when I talk to them. So I can't tell you with definitive proof if Council Member Allen has found a way to reallocate the 6 million back.
Just for additional context, I think Shalema just posted a link to the current 24/7 bus routes. If you want to display that, basically there's really only sort of one sort of route east-west currently running across our ANC that's 24/7.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Youngstown.
Chair Patel?
Yes.
I sense we're all furiously agreeing with each other. Maybe we should just go ahead and call the question.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I jumped because there was a lot of thunder.
I heard it as well. It was very close lightning.
Yeah. Well, before we can call the question, I have to by law take public comment on this.
Oh, I'm
but
sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I understand. If you're a member of the public and you have a question or comment on this, please raise your hand and we'll recognize you. Okay. Okay, seeing no further questions or comments from members of the public, seeing no further questions or comments from colleagues, we'll go ahead and call the question on the matter. We'll do this by division of the House. We'll start in numerical order. Commissioner Gifford.
Commissioner Gifford votes yes.
Yes. Okay. Chair Patel is a yes.
Commissioner Comer is a yes.
Dolan is a yes.
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 Okay, thank you, gentlemen. And moving on to the last resolution. This is a consideration of the resolution regarding fiscal year 27 budget priorities for ANC 2A. Edie Shellis, if you could go ahead and put up this resolution. This has not really changed from what I had sent in the month of January, which was already approved. I removed one line item from the one in January that was around library funding because unfortunately and sadly, that there was not going to be any way in the budget to fund the libraries getting longer hours. But what I did include in here is to include funding for new permanent supportive housing vouchers or local rec or local rent supplement program vouchers. This is also something that is a priority both for the chairman and Councilwoman Christina Henderson that spoke earlier. And then the last line is to fund the Emergency Rental Assistant Program, ERAP, to fiscal year 2026 levels. And for context, the 2026 levels, if I recall correctly, it is late. I believe that number was $8 million to fully fund EROP at the appropriate levels is $100 million. And unfortunately and very sadly, like that number is a dream number and it won't happen. But advocates have now at least been calling, even though the money from last fiscal year was nowhere near enough to at least be that, because from my understanding, I think EROP has been given 0, or I think it's now at 6 million, which is even less. And so one of the reasons why I am talking about the vouchers is that it will leave a lot of our residents who are unhoused who received vouchers to be able to be placed into housing. As of right now, the district is committed to funding what has been given out already. And from my understanding from various advocates and in being various hearings, I think that number is anywhere from between 200 to 600 citywide. I could be wrong. I've been in a lot of hearings, been hearing a lot of different numbers, but I do know that as of right now, they have enough funding in the pipeline for what's left. But all advocates have been calling for, please find money to at least do X amount of vouchers. As I said, the news broke today, like very much rapidly developing. Chairman Mendelson has found an additional $400 million. As you know, when Chairman Mendelson appeared last month, this is a priority for him. Like if he finds extra money, he was going to do it at housing voucher, like he was going to put it towards housing vouchers. So a lot of this doesn't have monetary numbers to it just because it's a very, very lean budget. The one thing I can tell you that I have already heard confirmation from is that funding for the villages citywide has sadly not increased, but they have not decreased. They have been kept to fiscal year 2026 levels. So at this point in the budget cycle, most people are just asking to be kept at the previous year's level. And so I am moving this item. I call for a second so that we can have discussion on this.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Chair Patel, seconded by Commissioner Youngstone. Do I have any questions or comments about this resolution from colleagues? Okay, Commissioner Gifford is shaking his head. Commissioner Comer is shaking his head. Commissioner Dolan's like, okay, just waiting for me to call the question. I will in a moment. If you're a member of the public, are there any questions or comments about this, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing no further questions or comments about this, I'm going to go ahead and call the question. We'll go ahead and vote on this by division of the House, starting in numerical order.
Commissioner Gifford votes no.
Chair Patel is a yes.
Commissioner Comer votes no.
Commissioner Dolan votes no.
No from Malik.
Youngstone votes yes.
Okay, motion fails. 2 yeses, 4 noes. All right, And there being no further business to be conducted, the time is 10:40. The meeting is adjourned. We will next meet on Wednesday, June 17th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. Thank you, colleagues. Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.